By Ruoli, this wretched lass, wasn't she a little too smug? She was actually acting so intimately in public with eldest senior brother. It was simply too improper. What was so great about this wretched lass? Why did eldest senior brother take a fancy to her? Murong Fei was feeling stuffed, especially when she heard Li Moying say to get married to this wretched lass, which poked into her sensitive senses as she blurted out, You two are really going to get married? Huang Yueli looked at her puzzledly as she asked, What's so strange about that? We are originally fiancé and fiancée, so it's just a matter of time before we get married. Speaking of that, it's all thanks to you that you didn't manage to hold on to me at the cliff. When I fell down the cliff, I saw Moying risking his own life to jump down to save me. That made me feel really touched, hence we've decided to hold our wedding in the near future. This is all thanks to eldest Miss Murong's freak accidental matchmaking, so we should really thank you properly. When she said that, she was entirely leaning in Li Moying's arms, putting on a cute and helpless look. Murong Fei saw that and it simply angered her so much that it almost made her die of anger. Why did that wretched lass not seem to die? She was even displaying the deep affection which eldest senior brother had towards her. Recalling back on how cold and distant eldest senior brother treated her usually, Murong Fei felt that Huang Yueli was simply just ridiculing her. Furthermore, Huang Yueli seemed to have guessed what she was thinking about. When Murong Fei looked towards her, she coincidentally curled up her lips, revealing a smile which was filled with provocation and ridicule. Murong Fei originally could still barely remember her own stand and identity, but after being despised so clearly, she finally lost her rationality. She stared at Huang Yueli angrily as she clenched her teeth and said, You, who is trying to matchmake you? I wanted you to die. Why are you still not dead yet? Don't be too complacent and think that you can monopolize eldest senior brother. Sooner or later, I'll let you die in front of me. When Murong Fei blurted out such words, Huang Yueli immediately opened her eyes wide with a shocked look. What are you saying? You want me to die? Why? Don't you like Master Li? You're immediately going to become Mrs. Li. Huang Yueli used all her might to step on Murong Fei's sore spot. The words Mrs. Li was like a sharp knife, stabbing right into Murong Fei's chest. She recalled just how dumb she was. Why did she agree to marry Li Lingchuan? Now that Li Moying had returned, she had conveniently allowed this wretched lass to gain an advantage for nothing, and she was so angry that she had nowhere to vent her anger. Unfortunately, Huang Yueli just had to show off right in front of her. Murong Fei was both angry and anxious. She stared at Huang Yueli furiously and was just about to open her mouth, but in the same instance when their eyes met, Murong Fei's mind suddenly went buzz. For a moment, she seemed to have seen a strange glint in Huang Yueli's eyes and it instantly looted her consciousness. Pei, what thing is Li Lingchuan? If it wasn't for the fact that he has a handle onto me, would I have taken a fancy on him? Only eldest senior brother is compatible with me. I'm warning you, you'd better scram from eldest senior brother's side, otherwise there will be plenty of times when you will accidentally lose your footing from cliffs, so don't blame me for not reminding you. Murong Fei had lost all her rationality as she spoke incoherently, voicing out all the malicious swearing right from the bottom of her heart. Huang Yueli's lips curled into a smile which wasn't like a smile as she said in a meaningful tone, Oh. So that's the case. In this way, my falling down the cliff isn't an accident. Murong Fei then realized that she had said the wrong words as a deadly pale color filled her entire face. You can also listen on. No, that's not true, you've heard it wrongly. No. I said it wrongly. She tried her best to explain, but there was already no way to explain. Earlier when she spoke out accidentally, it had already clearly explained everything. Murong Fei's jealousy towards Huang Yueli had already been exhibited in her speech. Furthermore, she kept repeatedly cursing her to go and die, including the fact that in her words, she had clearly mentioned letting Huang Yueli suffer from multiple lost footing and falling down the cliff. If she said now that she had not intentionally pushed Huang Yueli down, no one would believe her. Murong Fei kept on shaking her head, simply not believing that these words came out right from her own mouth. She had actually lost her own rationality to such a step. Earlier for a moment, she only felt that she was so upset to the limit that a burst of flame was about to explode in her chest, and immediately following that, her mind went blank as though she had lost her senses. By the time she regained her senses, those malicious, truthful thinking had already come right out of her mouth. Why did she do that? Even though she had been trying to find ways to make that little slut die, but she had never lost herself so much to have taken such a step before. Furthermore, it was under this kind of occasion, so wasn't this simply seeking death's path for herself? Murong Fei would have never thought in her wildest dream that she had been struck with Huang Yueli's piercing sky-eye technique, hence losing her senses. The public square's guests and disciples had totally disregarded all formalities as they all couldn't hold themselves back from talking about this matter. Did you all hear what eldest young Miss Murong said? So, she really wanted to send young sect master Li's fiancé to her death. Not only thinking about it, I think she had already done it. From the meaning of her words, Mr. Luo's accusations are totally true. She's the one who pushed Miss Bai down the cliff. This woman's heart is really too malicious. How could there be such a venomous woman? To think that I had once liked her so much, thinking that she was a talented lady with both outstanding looks and innate talent. My senior brother had even been secretly admiring her. Whoever knew that she's such a hypocrite right down into her bones? It's all an act. Which way is this malicious? She's just dumb. She actually retardedly spoke out the entire truthful thinking in her mind upon seeing young sect master Li and his fiancé getting intimate. Not only had she admitted her crime, she had also indirectly proved that what Mr. Luo said was the entire truth. Li Lingchuan and the others had really colluded together to work against young sect master Li. TSK. Speaking of this, she's really a wanton woman. One moment she said she liked young sect master Li, the next moment, she's getting engaged to Li Lingchuan. Now that she saw young sect master Li leaving the mystic region safely, she wanted to stick back to him. Hey, did she really thought all men are idiots, who can be fooled within her palms? Everyone's words were filled with despise towards Murong Fei. After all, Murong Fei's sculpted cold and saintly image was simply too successful. She was a first-class talented young lady in South Sky region. No matter if it was in terms of background, innate talent, looks or talent, she was the first choice in every aspect. Usually she put on an almighty cool look which attracted admiration from many young talents from various sects. Even though everyone knew she liked Li Moying, but she held herself very well and rarely displayed actions which were too much in front of others, hence she didn't give anyone the chance to look down on her as well. After all, what kind of genius grade was Li Moying? A man so powerful to this extent made all people from the same gender helplessly felt jealous of him. You can also listen on. A talented lady admiring him wasn't some devaluing matter, as others would only feel that it was very common. But now, she had changed faces overnight, which made her image, which she had painstakingly built up over the years, collapsed instantly. So, Murong Fei wasn't some aloof fairy but such a sinister and treacherous woman on the inside. Never mind that she was so malicious, but she was still that dumb to admit whatever bad things she had done, simply retarded to the stage where no one could bear to look at her straight. Moreover, she assumed that Li Moying was dead and was just about to marry Li Lingchuan, but now that she saw Li Moying appearing once again, she immediately tried to turn back, without any aspect of a woman's virtuousness. This action made anyone who saw it wanted to berate her as shameless. Henceforth, Murong Fei's image was completely ruined. Murong Fei actually realized that swiftly, but since she could rescind the words which she had said, and upon hearing the crowds whispering in the public square, sensing the disdainful gazes from the audience, her eyes blacked out and she almost fainted on the spot. She could not understand why was it that she could be so retarded to such an extent for that instant. Li Moying, however, was very clear what his own fiancé had been up to. Earlier, when Huang Yueli extended her piercing sky-eye technique, he clearly sensed her profound energy fluctuations, hence he clearly understood her plan right from the start. His Leah had intentionally agitated Murong Fei, and after she had infuriated her to the max limit, she chose a suitable timing to use her eye technique to mess up her rationality, making her say out the words in her mind. She had dug a hole to bury herself in it. Li Moying lowered his head and looked at Huang Yueli, and coincidentally Huang Yueli also turned over to look at him. The two of them exchanged glances and Huang Yueli smiled sweetly. That crafty and black-bellied look made Li Moying feel emotionally affected. If it wasn't for the fact that the occasion wasn't suitable, he really wanted to hug and kiss her. These two were full of tender feelings for each other as it blinded Luo Jiun and the bunch of shadow guards' dog eyes, as they all started to cough lightly while they turned their heads away. Everything was good about following these two masters, but the only thing was the minute they had a disagreement they would torture the dogs, simply had no consideration for others at all. This made them singles feel so embarrassed. On one hand, while this side was engaged in uninterrupted affection, on the other hand, Murong Fei's matter wasn't considered completed yet. She had blurted out the words in her heart, damaging not only the fall of her own image, but it was equivalent to confessing to everyone about herself, Li Lingchuan and the others colluding together, which also caused Murongda, who had been taking her side, to ruin his reputation totally. Li Lingchuan was so angry that his face turned green while he cried out sharply, "Murong Fei, you're simply spouting nonsense. Do you know what you're saying? I really didn't expect that you're such a shameless, vicious and wanton woman. I've really seen you wrongly. I thought that you had unintentionally seen sister-in-law falling down the cliff and wasn't able to pull onto her in time. I'd not expected that it was really you who pushed her down. You've even deceived me. You're simply too venomous." Li Lingchuan was simply going to cry dumb by this woman. On seeing her reputation completely ruined in a quarter of an hour, Li Lingchuan made a decisive decision to push all the blame onto Murong Fei immediately as he tried his best to pull himself out of it. It was impossible for him to be dragged down by this kind of brainless woman. However, Li Lingchuan was hasty in choosing a way out, only remembering to whitewash himself, but he had forgotten that he and Murong Fei were on the same boat. Murong Fei had a handle on him. You can also listen on. When Murong Fei heard his words, she first went into a blank, apparently not expecting that Li Lingchuan had a change of face that quickly. One should know that during this period of time, Li Lingchuan had been placing all his attention on her as he pampered and fawned on her. He could be regarded as a love-say. If it wasn't for this, she wouldn't have agreed to getting engaged to Li Lingchuan in such a short span of time after assuming that Li Moying had died. Murong Fei had thought that she had found another sentimental man who could be used by her, but she had not expected that Li Lingchuan was actually making use of her instead. The minute the truth was exposed, he didn't even hesitate to offer any deficiencies as he immediately casted her aside. Murong Fei's expression turned menacing. "Li Lingchuan, what do you mean by that? Are you trying to throw all the responsibilities onto me? Do you think that you are able to cast it all aside? It's you and Leng Yifeng, the both of you who had started planning even before we entered the cloudy Chelene mystic region on how to harm eldest senior brother. You'd still been lying to me that you only want to murder Bai Ruoli. Did you really think that I didn't know about that? If it wasn't for the fact that you had seen me pushing Bai Ruoli, in order to stop you from threatening me to keep this secret, I wouldn't marry a cruel and unscrupulous thing like you." Murong Fei had really pressed all her luck out. Anyway, her reputation was already at rock bottom and the matter where she harmed someone could no longer be hidden, hence she had nothing more to fear. Li Lingchuan actually tried to hit her while she was down. Then she wouldn't mind entering a life and death struggle with him as well. Li Lingchuan's expression turned uglier. He had always known that Murong Fei totally wasn't into him. Every single time she merely ordered him around, completely different from when she acted affectionately, to the extent of offering herself to Li Moying. But today, Murong Fei had once and again bore it all, making this future fiancé's face unable to hang on any further. In this way, there was no way that they wouldn't tore their faces apart. Li Lingchuan couldn't stop himself from retorting out, "Murong Fei, who are you calling cruel and unscrupulous? It's you who's wanton, all right? I'm threatening you. It's plainly yourself who couldn't wait to find another man on seeing that Li Moying might possibly be dead. I'm threatening you. Did I force you to push Bai Ruoli down the cliff? I'm telling you, if not for the fact that you're the eldest young miss of Celestial Light Sect, for such a venomous and fickle woman like you, you're not even fit to lift my shoes for me. Would I even get engaged with you?" Murong Fei was originally abused by him badly as her face had turned into a pig liver color. She had always been pursued after by numerous men, so since when had she ever been scolded that directly by anyone? Her anger got the better of her, and this time round, she totally didn't care about anything else as she stretched out her finger and pointed her trembling fingers towards Li Lingchuan. "Li Lingchuan, don't you take things too far. I'm telling you, the dirty things which you've done, I'm very clear of it all. Don't force me to spill the beans right here. When Li Lingchuan heard that, his heart constricted as he was slightly scared stiff. But changing his frame of thoughts, the handle which Murong Fei knew wasn't that he had schemed Li Moying. Earlier he had decided not to admit it even if he was beaten to death, and he had already thrown the pot over to Murong Fei, so what else was he still afraid of? He gauged that Murong Fei was merely trying to put on a bluff so he shouldn't fall for her trick. Li Lingchuan laughed coldly. Don't think that just sprouting some casual specious words and you will be able to splash dirty water onto me. I stayed upright and did righteous things. So could I possibly be scared of your nonsensical words? Murong Fei gritted her teeth as she looked at him and hissed a sentence out from the slits of her teeth. Don't think I don't know, Leng Yifeng was stabbed to death by you. You can also listen on. Murong Fei's words was like a bomb, incinerating the entire public square. What? Leng Yifeng? Have I heard wrongly? The Leng Yifeng whom eldest Miss Murong was talking about is the eldest disciple from Green Cloud sect? That's right, but earlier wasn't Luo Jiyun and the rest saying that Leng Yifeng had colluded with Li Lingchuan and was in a cooperative relationship? Why is it that now she's saying that Li Lingchuan had killed Leng Yifeng? I remembered that at the entrance of Cloudy Chalene Mystic Region, Li Lingchuan mentioned that Leng Yifeng was struck dead by Li Moying when they were engaged in a battle. But now Murong Fei said this. Could it be that there's really something suspicious about this matter? Heavens, if this is true, then something big is going to happen. Sect Master Kui from Green Cloud Sect is right here today to attend the coronation ceremony. Right at this moment, Green Cloud Sect's Sect Master Kui Yuanshan was seated in the VIP seating. Originally after Leng Yifeng's death, he had also turned tables with Murongda. Today he had appeared at this place was not because the two sects had reached a peace treaty but because Murong Ni had an affair with Fang Xiaoning in the Cloudy Chalene Mystic Region and she actually gotten pregnant. Both sects were reputable and since such a farce had occurred between their direct disciples, Murong Ni could only marry over to Green Cloud Sect. Kui Yuanshan most unwillingly headed over to discuss this matter and coincidentally he had come in time for the coronation ceremony, hence, he tugged his utmost displeasure to attend this event. Whoever knew that this event gave him a shocking piece of truth. When Kui Yuanshan heard Murong Fei's words, he was so agitated that he stood right up and overturned the teacups right next to him. Murong Fei, what did you say? Leng Yifeng was killed by Li Lingchuan? Wasn't it said that Li Moying had accidentally killed him when they were crossing hands? Speak clearly. Originally Kui Yuanshan had already believed Li Lingchuan's words because Leng Yifeng had tried to plot against Li Moying first. Plus the fact that he was killed during a battle, so no matter what, it was Leng Yifeng at fault. Later on everyone thought that Li Moying was already dead and there was no way to seek revenge, hence this matter just settled by leaving it unsettled. But now, things had taken an unexpected turn and there was a totally new saying. Could it be that he was tricked by Li Lingchuan? Li Lingchuan had a huge change of expression as the sweat on his forehead kept on sprouting. His hands and feet were chilly as he was anxious to the maximum limit. He had assumed that he had done it so discreetly that no one knew about it. Even if it was Li Moying himself, he wasn't sure that when he injured Leng Yifeng heavily, did he really kill that person. Whoever knew that today his lies were all exposed by Murong Fei? What was going on? How did Murong Fei find out that he was the one who killed Leng Yifeng? Li Lingchuan's heart started palpitating but he forced himself to maintain his composure. He knew that he could not reveal any flaws, otherwise he would really be dead meat this time. From his point of view, Leng family was much stickier than Li Moying by at least 100 times. Such an influential family strength, killing him was as easy as crushing an ant, wasn't it? Murong Fei, don't you go slandering me venomously. The situation then wasn't only seen by you. Leng Yifeng had tried to assassinate eldest senior brother but in the end he was heavily struck down in one move. Later on, Leng Yifeng used the profound artifact which his family had left for him but it was still decoded by eldest senior brother as he was struck flying off and spitting out blood at the same time, later on losing his consciousness. Later on, as there wasn't anyone who could save him, hence he had died due to a prolonged lapse of time from excessive bleeding. Saying that, he turned towards Luo Jiyun. Luo Jiyun, You were one of the witnesses then. You can also listen on. Everyone's gazes fell onto Luo Jiun once again. Luo Jiun frowned slightly as he replied hesitantly, this, actually when he was by the side of the cliff, after Li Moying and Huang Yueli had both fallen and jumped off the cliff sequentially, he lost consciousness after that and he didn't know when Li Lingchuan and Murong Fei left. But right before he lost consciousness, what he had seen was exactly as what Li Lingchuan had described. His character was upright and just, and he had never lied before. But in this case, wouldn't it be equivalent to testifying for Li Lingchuan, to accuse that his eldest senior brother had killed Leng Yifeng? However, not waiting for his reply, Li Lingchuan had already continued speaking. See, junior brother Luo can't say anything else, right? If I'm the one who killed him, then would Luo Jiun be so hesitant in reply? Apparently he was killed by Li Moying, that's why he doesn't have the cheek to say it out. Honestly speaking, as a large family's descendant, Leng Yifeng has many profound artifacts on him and just based on my cultivation. Sect Master Kui, do you feel that I am able to kill him? Being asked in such a manner, Kui Yuan Shan frowned, feeling that he might possibly have gotten it wrong. Back then in the cloudy Qilin mystic region, the only person who had the ability to kill Leng Yifeng was only Li Moying. Furthermore, he had the motive and chance to do so. He turned his head towards Li Moying. Li Moying, this matter concerning my disciple Leng, wait. Sect Master Kui, don't you believe in Li Lingchuan's nonsense? When Murong Fei saw that, she couldn't help but cried out loudly, Li Lingchuan, did you really think that I haven't seen anything at all? That time, you were the first to get up and Leng Yifeng begged you for help, but you saw riches which provoked evil designs, hence you stabbed him to death with your dagger. You even stole his realm ring and profound weapons and profound artifacts. This is something which I've seen with my own eyes. Li Lingchuan instantly turned chilly. You, what nonsense are you sprouting? Don't think that by weaving a lie like that, you're able to divert away everyone's attention, and that you're able to whitewash yourself. Murong Fei stared at him furiously. Why? Dare to do it but no guts to admit. Did you really think that both I and junior brother Luo were unconscious so no one would know about it, hence you dared to kill Leng Yifeng? In actual fact, I had regained consciousness long ago, but on seeing you killing him, I could only pretend to lose consciousness. I was afraid that you would eliminate me. Actually, I've seen every single thing that you've done. Li Lingchuan stopped her sharply. Shut up. What nonsense are you sprouting? I don't understand a single word of it. His mind went blank and his legs turned into jelly as he almost fell onto the ground. Never in his wildest dream had he thought that his seamless plans had actually been exposed. Furthermore, at this juncture, to be exposed by Murong Fei in front of Kui Yuan Shan. Murong Fei had actually seen this, but she actually pretended to have fainted. How was that possible? If he had long knew that Murong Fei had grasped this handle of his, then he would absolutely not tear faces with Murong Fei so easily earlier. But now, it was too late to say anything. No matter how menacing Li Lingchuan's appearance was, insisting that it was Murong Fei who was creating rumors. But everyone present were not idiots, and Kui Yuan Shan was an astute and circumspect sect master from a large sect, so how could he possibly be cheated by this performance? Anyone with a bit of brains was able to tell that Murong Fei had spoken so frankly and straightforwardly, hence she definitely had something to support her. Good, very good. Extremely good. Kui Yuan Shan's face as deep as water as his gloomy cold gaze was fixated onto Li Lingchuan. You can also listen on. Li Lingchuan shuddered as he furiously shook his head to deny the allegations. Kui. Sect Master Kui, you cannot just listen to Murong Fei's one-sided story. I didn't. I really didn't. That day when I regained consciousness, Leng Yifeng was already dead. He had died due to serious injuries which he sustained from Li Moying and had nothing to do with me at all. Don't listen to Murong Fei's nonsense, she's just a woman who is full of lies. Mitch, I think you're the loser who is full of lies. Murong Fei immediately rebutted, weren't you just greedy for Leng Yifeng's treasures on him, hence you killed him so that you can take his treasures for your own? Sect Master Kui, in order to verify that what I said was correct, it's very simple. You just need to catch him and search his realm ring, Then you'd be able to see if there's any of Lung Yifeng's belongings inside. You. Li Lingchuan had an abrupt change of colors as he really didn't expect Murong Fei to scam him in such a way. As he was afraid of being exposed, he didn't dare to use the treasures which Lung Yifeng left behind, but he had been carrying it around with him, preparing to find a chance to head towards Sky Emperor City to exchange for money. If he was seriously captured and searched, then he would be exposed for sure. Kui Yuanshan apparently felt that it was a good idea as he nodded his head immediately. That's right, this sect master has the same sentiment. He was already at the verge of blowing his top, and if what Murong Fei said was true, then Li Lingchuan was truly a despicable and utterly shameless villain. After all practitioners held in contempt on the action of suddenly changing faces while their companions were heavily injured, then to retain the other party's treasures for their own. No one wished for their own companions to betray and murder them while they were in the middle of experience training. Hence the minute anyone did that, that person would be condemned by all the practitioners in the whole world. Momentarily, the audience in the public square were all furious beyond words, and some even started swearing loudly. Li Lingchuan is just too cheap. He dared to even do such a thing like this. He still has the cheek to claim Murong Fei is a wanton woman. I think the both of them, one a scum while the other one is cheap, they're really a match made in heaven. Heavens, it's simply too shameless. He's even a large sect's direct disciple and he actually did such a thing. Is there any difference from being a robber? Celestial Light sect actually wants to promote such a person to become young sect master. Is Murong de blind or what? Li Lingchuan plopped down on his knees and started pleading for mercy. Sect Master Kui, spare me, please spare my life. I really didn't kill anyone. Yes, I admit that I have taken Mr. Lung's realm ring, but I absolutely didn't kill him. I merely felt that those treasures left behind in the mystic region was a huge waste, so I helped him to retrieve it out. Kui Yuanshan's face had turned deep like water as his gaze was fixated onto Li Lingchuan while he spoke out coldly, whether it's real or fake, after you reach Sky Emperor City, go explain to the Lung family yourself. Don't blame this sect master for not reminding you that Lung family has an exclusive soul-searching skill. So no matter if what you said is the truth or not, there's absolutely no way to conceal the fact. Hearing that, Li Lingchuan had an abrupt change of color as he started shaking all over. Soul-searching skill. This ancient secret arts was something which an established powerhouse in Sky Emperor City could grasp, and he had also heard rumors on it. It required a practitioner with extremely powerful mental power to forcibly inject in his profound energy to read the memories of the person whose soul was being searched. Any lies under this secret arts had no way to hide. What was most terrifying of all was that this secret arts caused a destructive damage to the practitioner's primordial spirit. You can also listen on. The minute Lung family's top exponents used the soul-searching skill on him, the lightest injury would be damage to his primordial spirit, causing his cultivation to take drastic drop, or the worse was that he could completely lose his senses, turning into a living dead. There was also the possibility of losing his life on the spot. No matter which outcome it wasn't something which he could handle. Moreover, the minute his soul was searched, the matter where he had murdered Lung Yifeng would be exposed, and what awaited him was absolutely all kinds of cruel tortures, which was worse than dying. Li Lingchuan's soul almost flew out as he tried his best to explain. Sect Master Kui, I really didn't, please let me off. Kui Yuanshan's face was icy cold as he remained unmoved. As Lung Yifeng had died in Green Cloud Sect's organized experience learning, he had been under tremendous pressure from the Lung family for this period of time, and the entire sect was affected by this. Now he had finally found the main culprit to answer to Lung family, so no matter what, he would never give up on this chance. Li Lingchuan looked at him with a staunch look, so he could only turn towards Murongde and plead for mercy. He kept on kowtowing on the ground as he pleaded pitifully. Master, please save me. I cannot go to the Lung family, I cannot let them search my soul. The sect had used so much effort to nurture me, so surely you won't want to see me lose my cultivation like that, right? Master, on account that we are master disciple, I beg you to please save me. Murongde lowered his head and looked at his second disciple, who knelt on the ground. Towards this disciple, he had some feelings since he had also been under him since young and he watched him growing up little by little. However, The matter which was caused by Li Lingchuan had largely surpassed his bottom line. He had first been exposed that because of Celestial Light Sect's young sect master's position, he disregarded everything and caused harm to his own senior brother. Immediately following that, he turned tables against Murongda's biological daughter, turning into foes to mutually frame and entrap the other. Lastly, he was exposed of his greed, turning into murder, killing Lung family's descendant. Any of these three items were enough to make any practitioner being disdained by everyone, consigned to eternal damnation. Li Lingchuan. Today he had completely reduced Celestial Light Sect into the entire pugilist world's laughingstock. Celestial Light Sect had been passed on from generation to generation and had finally managed to establish some prestige, had totally been ruined today. No matter if it was in terms of public or private, Murongda was totally unable to accept this matter. What's more, if he defended Li Lingchuan today, Lung family might just come over to seek revenge another day. This kind of strong powerhouse in soaring heaven's continents was not something that a small little sect like them could afford to offend. Murongda looked deeply at Li Lingchuan and he already came to an understanding in his heart. He gave a deep sigh. Lingchuan, this master had been guiding you for so many years, that one's character is more important than cultivation. If you can't even become a righteous person, then what's the point of it all, no matter how high your cultivation gets? You've really made this master too disappointed. Li Lingchuan's heart thumped wildly. Master, you can't do this to me. Murongda frowned. You've created this sin yourself, so you naturally need to bear the consequences. No matter what happens, you deserve it. Committing such a huge offense, this master could only choose to place righteousness before family. His devotion to righteousness, which inspired reverence, made Li Lingchuan's heart turn ashen. He knew that this master of his had always been timid and at this juncture, he would absolutely not save him. But could it be that he was just waiting for death like that? No, he absolutely could not accept this result. Why? Why did things turn out this way? Today was obviously the day where he was most proud of his success. You can also listen on. All that he ever wanted, status, authority, beauty, were all right in front of him, but why had it just been a blink of an eye and everything had turned into bubbles popping into illusions, even pulling him into the abyss of the bottomless hell? Li Lingchuan's face was utterly defeated as he sat despondently on the ground in a kneeling position. Kui Yuan Shan gave a cold humph and said, "What's the matter? Done with your rubbish talk? Sect Master Murong has finally dealt with this reasonably. Not that I want to say, this kind of scum of the sect who had dragged down the entire sect should have been driven out long ago. Today, this sect master shall help you clean up your place." Saying that, he stretched out his hand and the profound energy injected within viciously struck towards Li Lingchuan's chest. This move was tumultuous. Anyone could tell that if Li Lingchuan was hit, he would absolutely have all his meridians shattered, causing him to lay limp on the ground, just waiting to be slaughtered. Li Lingchuan himself knew this clearer than anyone else. But a ninth-stage realm practitioner's might was not something which he could go against. He didn't even have the possibility to struggle and escape, as his entire body was suppressed by Kui Yuan Shan's aura, rendering him totally immovable, as he could only watch with his eyes open to wait for himself to become cripple. Just as everything thought the same thought, Li Lingchuan would be injured and brought away by Kui Yuan Shan. Suddenly Kui Yuan Shan gave off a yi sound. Immediately following that, a burst of profound energy flew out from the side as it collided ferociously with Kui Yuan Shan's profound energy. A boom sound reverberated and shooting sparks was seen in mid-sky. Kui Yuan Shan couldn't help but gave a dull moan as he felt that that gust of profound energy was not only rich, it was also abnormally solid. It could instantly crush his own profound energy as his feet was pushed back by half a step before he managed to steady himself with his breathing slightly unstable. Sect Master Murong, what's the meaning in this? Haven't you agreed not to dabble in this matter? Don't tell me you're regretting it. Kui Yuan Shan hollered out exasperatedly as he gave Murongda a furious stare. However, when the two of them exchanged glances, he then discovered that Murongda's expression was even more astonished than his. What's going on? Kui Yuan Shan frowned. Murongda turned his indeterminate bewildered gaze onto Li Moying. Moying, you, not only Murongda, everyone below the stage had seen it clearly. The person who obstructed Kui Yuanshan was not Murongde, but Li Moying. Kui Yuanshan followed his gaze as he looked towards Li Moying. What's the meaning? Don't tell me the person who struck earlier is Li Moying. Kui Yuanshan's eyes turned wild like full moons as he deeply felt that Murongde was playing tricks on him. After all, when he struck earlier, although he had used only 20 to 30% of his profound energy, but that was still a 9th stage realm practitioner's strike. 9th stage realm practitioners who advanced would all enter a stage of shedding their mortal bones. As compared to practitioners who were under 9th stage realm, there was a huge difference in their abilities. Even if it was an 8th stage realm peak practitioner, that person would not be able to take on 20% of his profound energy. Moreover speaking, in order for him to cripple Li Lingchuan in one move, he used a heaven-grade profound skill. Who exactly was Li Moying? He as South Sky Regions, or perhaps Soaring Heavens Continent's #1 genius, but he was merely a junior. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the 7th stage realm. He was invincible among the younger generation, but in front of a 9th stage realm practitioner, he could barely take on a strike. How could Li Moying possibly block a move from Kui Yuanshan? Kui Yuanshan wanted to laugh loudly to express his disdainful feelings, but when he turned his gaze towards the public square, he discovered that everyone's face was filled with astonishment. You can also listen on. Kui Yuanshan was stunned. From the looks of it, could it be that Murongde was not deliberately mystifying but he was telling the truth? Before he could even react, Li Moying's icy cold gaze swept past him as he opened his mouth indifferently. Sect Master Kui, you cannot take him away. Kui Yuanshan's face flashed past a furious look. He was an established practitioner for quite a number of years, and he had never been commanded in such a way by a junior. Unfortunately, Li Moying did it, and furthermore, in such a just and forceful way. Kui Yuanshan replied, "Young Sect Master Li, please be clear of who you are speaking to. Li Lingchuan caused harm to my Green Cloud sect's eldest disciple, and this is of utmost concern, hence this sect master has the authority to take him away. Furthermore, Lung family had been investigating Lung Yifeng's cause of death, so this sect master must definitely hand this person over to them." Kui Yuanshan forcibly suppressed the anger in his heart as he made an exception to explain a little more. The main thing was because he didn't bring along any 9th stage realm elders and was there alone on Celestial Light Sect's turf, so he didn't want to create any trouble. When Li Moying heard that, there was still no expression on his face as he continued speaking. Li Lingchuan plotted against me and my fiancé in Cloudy Chilean Mystic Region, and this debt cannot be forgotten. He can only be dealt with by me. Sect Master Kui, please return him. Kui Yuanshan was shoved back by a similar reason as his face was so stuffed that it turned red. From what he saw, the explanation that he gave earlier was already lowering his own status, giving this young junior enough face so Li Moying should just be tactful and leave the stage, respectfully allowing him to take the person away. Whoever knew that Li Moying was actually unmoved, and he even obstructed right in front of him. He couldn't help but flew into a rage. Li Moying, who do you think you're talking to? Move aside for this sect master, otherwise, I'll capture both of you and send you over to the Lung family. Don't forget, Leng Yifeng's death is connected to you as well. Kui Yuanshan berated him while unhesitatingly releasing his profound energy from within. A 9th stage realm top exponent's suppression enveloped the entire public square, and many practitioners present weren't able to take it as they started shuffling backwards. But Li Moying, who was facing Kui Yuanshan, stood high and mighty as he was motionless, as though Kui Yuanshan's profound energy suppression had no effect on him at all. Kui Yuanshan had never met with such a thing, and on seeing Li Moying behaving in an opposite reaction as what he had expected, he immediately threw up blood and retreated a little. Feeling that he had lost face further, he continued to unleash his profound energy. This time round, even a top exponent like Murongde started feeling uncomfortable. Li Lingchuan, who knelt on the ground, was throwing up blood as he bent over and curled up. Even so, Li Moying still didn't show any signs of discomfort. On the contrary, his lips curled upwards slightly and signs of ridicule started appearing on his face. This expression completely infuriated Kui Yuanshan. "You little fellow, Did you really think that you have outstanding innate talent and you can go up against an established senior? You're simply too conceited. If you don't move aside, then this sect master will not continue being polite. He was just about to give his fullest and seriously deal out his move to show Li Moying some colors. But at this moment, Murongda stood in the middle to stop him as he cried out, "Sect Master Kui, misunderstanding, this is all a misunderstanding. Don't be rash." Moying he almost died under his own junior brother's hand and is still feeling upset over it, which is inevitable, hence his acting a little out of control, not knowing what's more important. He's young and still ignorant, so I'll speak to him, then he'd start to get over it. "Sect Master Kui, please don't hold it against a junior. You can also listen on." Murongda stood by the side as he looked at Li Moying, winking at him. "Moying, aren't you coming over to apologize to Sect Master Kui?" Murongda now understood that Li Lingchuan could not be saved, but there wasn't much influence if he gave up on this hopeless second disciple. Now the greatest news was Li Moying had came back to life. As long as Li Moying was around, Celestial Light Sect's future would be boundless, so even if 1,000 Li Lingchuans died, there wasn't any influence at all. Hence when Kui Yuanshan dabbled in the situation based on his reason to capture Li Lingchuan to hand over to Lung family, he didn't object too violently. But now that Li Moying was going up against Kui Yuanshan, things were not good. If Kui Yuanshan exploded and heavily injured Li Moying, then that would be Celestial Light Sect's irrevocable damage. That was why Murongda hurriedly jumped out to ease the situation. Kui Yuanshan saw Murongda jumping out and thinking that he had not brought any men along, hence he could only let things go. He placed his hands behind his back and gave a cold humph as he said, "All right, since Sect Master Murong put it in this way, how could this Sect Master haggle with a junior? As long as young Sect Master Li apologizes sincerely, then I can let this matter rest." When Murongda heard that, he winked even harder at Li Moying, so much that his eyeballs were about to drop out. Alas, Li Moying totally ignored him as the ridicule beneath his eyes was even stronger. "This is not a misunderstanding. This seat has already made it clearly, Li Lingchuan must die under my hands." Kui Yuanshan simply did not believe what he had heard. Under his coercive suppression, Li Moying actually remained so resolute, without any sense of wanting to step back. Must you go against this sect master?" Kui Yuanshan's face turned green. The profound energy in his body had started to gather and his aura kept on increasing as the air started to be charged with an intense wind attribute profound energy. If it was an ordinary 7th stage realm practitioner, he would have been lying limp on the ground. No matter how much determination he had, there was no way that he could control his own actions under such a powerful suppression. But Li Moying merely replied indifferently, "Talking so much rubbish, either you scram or strike." The public square turned completely silent. No one had expected that Li Moying actually dared to provoke the long-established 9th stage realm practitioner, Kui Yuanshan, in such a way. Did he really want to die? Or had he gone insane? No matter how excellent his innate talent was, there was no possibility of him being able to block a move from Kui Yuanshan. Now he had even incited Kui Yuanshan to make a move. Was he, in a hurry to reincarnate? Kui Yuanshan stared intently at Li Moying's eyes. Good, you're very good. This sect master shall let you experience what is known as a genuine 9th stage realm practitioner. You must know what kind of price you must pay for provoking the strong. Murongda's expression changed abruptly as he cried out sharply, "Li Moying, what nonsense are you sprouting? Quickly shut your mouth." But saying anything now was just too late. Right after Kui Yuanshan said 3 good words, the profound energy within his body started pouring out in torrents as it gathered into a wind blade striking towards Li Moying's head. He had been completely angered and no matter what, he was a sect master. To be provoked by a junior in such a way, his face had been completely lost. You can also listen on. If he didn't make Li Moying pay a painful price, then where would his face be placed? Towards wind-attributed practitioners, Windblade was an extremely ordinary profound skill, but under the drive of a 9th stage realm's torrential profound energy, the air gathered in mid-air into blade images but was extraordinarily strong as though it could tear the entire heaven and earth apart. Wind-attributed energy revolved around the sharp blade, bearing a devastating stance in everyone's heart. Wind-attributed practitioners' speed were extremely swift, and it only took a flash before it was just inches away from Li Moying. Heavens! Li Moying is a goner. Too terrifying. So this is a 9th stage realm practitioner's potential. He could simply call upon the wind and summon rain, totally not something that ordinary people like us could imagine. Finished, Li Moying amidst the cries, many of them were so afraid that they covered their eyes, especially for those young ladies who secretly admired Li Moying. They didn't dare to see him being cut into half by the wind blade. Murongde hurriedly struck out in an attempt to save him. But his potential was originally much weaker than Kui Yuanshan, and adding on to the speed which a wind-attributed practitioner had, not to mention that Kui Yuanshan had suddenly struck. Under various elements, Murongde's profound energy missed the wind blade, and he could only watch with his eyes open at the blade which had sliced open the space as it landed onto the top of Li Moying's head. He drew in a breath of cold air. However, the image which was in his mind did not appear. Li Moying was facing an abruptly descended wind blade, but he totally made no signs of attempting to evade it. In fact, he didn't even bother to put out a defensive stance. It was until the wind blade was right on top of his head when he moved slightly as he raised his hand up. A blue-purplish streak of lightning violently flashed, instantly attracting thunder. A loud boom sound reverberated, and the explosive sound rang above celestial light sect as a bolt of lightning split opened heaven and earth, forming a line with the thunder light in Li Moying's palm. This bolt of lightning was simply too bright, and many practitioners of weaker cultivation were blinded the moment that lightning lit up as their eyes started tearing, totally unable to see anything. Whereas for practitioners with higher cultivations, they could only barely see that bolt of lightning which suddenly released a powerful amount of energy, clashing fiercely against Kui Yuanshan's wind blade. An intense explosion sounded. Raging wind and electric currents started to land on the public square, causing torrents of miserable shrieks. After a moment later, the explosive repercussions then slowly subsides as those practitioners who had gone dizzy from the effect could barely pick themselves up, raising their heads to look at the situation on the stage. Celestial Light Sect's VIP seats had been blown away. Amid the mayhem, Li Moying and Kui Yuanshan were at a distance of 10 meters away from each other. Kui Yuanshan's condition was far from good. His face was pale and his entire face was filled with dust and ash, and the protection armor which he wore was blasted into shreds with multiple wounds on his body as it kept on seeping out blood. His eyes were wide open as he displayed an expression of disbelief as he used his finger and pointed towards Li Moying's direction. As he did that, his entire body started trembling uncontrollably. You, how is it possible? How is this possible? Li Moying shot a glance at him coldly. Why is it not possible? Kui Yuanshan seemed as though he had suffered a huge blow as he started to talk incoherently. How could you, possibly? I am in 9th stage realm. How could you possibly block it? Impossible. Li Moying's icy cold voice was heard. Haven't you seen it for yourself? This is of course because my cultivation is also in the 9th stage realm. You can also listen on. 9th stage realm? What is young sect Master Li talking about? Have I heard wrongly? Pinch me quickly. Hearing what Li Moying said, those practitioners who had finally started to quieten down all started to shriek as all of them felt that they had developed hallucination. However, when they turned their gazes towards Li Moying, all of their questions were all stuffed back at their faces. Li Moying stood there firmly as his gaze was cold and penetrating, with his tall statue standing upright like a mountain as it was impenetrable. His aura kept on increasing as his profound energy fluctuation which was emitted started to become stronger and stronger. Overbearing profound energy suppression enveloped the entire public square, even pushing Kui Yuanshan's unleashed profound energy back, totally suppressing him until it couldn't be felt. This kind of powerful and pure profound energy clearly answered the question, which was, Li Moying had genuinely crossed into the line of the 9th stage realm. Kui Yuanshan's pupils slightly contracted as his gaze, which was fixed onto Li Moying, was as though he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. 9th stage realm, it really is the 9th stage realm, heavens. Young sect Master Li had actually advanced into the 9th stage realm. This This. Isn't this a little too ridiculous? If I hadn't recalled wrongly, he's only 21 years old this year. A 21-year-old ninth stage realm. Terrifying, too terrifying. The #1 top expert, Mu Chengying, in Soaring Heaven's continent then was over 30 years old when he advanced into ninth stage realm, and that was Soaring Heaven's continent's fastest record of advancing into ninth stage realm. Looks like this record is broken by young sect master Li. It's far more than broken. It has totally been shrunk by a huge chunk. How on earth did he do it? Public square exploded into a bustle as everyone used a mixed gaze of shock, fear, and adoration as they looked at Li Moying. Since the moment he stepped into ninth stage realm, he was no longer the so-called genius, but a genuine peerless top exponent. All the people present were no longer in a possibility of being put on the same level to be compared. Not only the disciples from other sects, even everyone in Celestial Light sect were dazed beyond words. Eldest senior brother is too powerful. This simply is too ridiculous. I thought that I had already gained enough understanding on eldest senior brother's powerfulness, but it's only until now that I realized that all I've seen were just a tip of the iceberg. Is he still a human? Even Murongde was completely dazed. As Li Moying's master, he should be clearest towards his own disciples' innate talent, but now he realized that this Li Moying right in front of him was someone whom he totally didn't recognize. He had merely just entered the cloudy Chilean mystic region once and only for slightly over 2 months, but he had actually broken through 2 large realms consecutively. This was not using just a simple word genius to describe him. Under everyone's dumbstruck look, Li Moying inclined his head to the side as he told Mo Yi, "Go get Li Lingchuan, we should get going." Mo Yi hurriedly responded as he and Mo went up to grab hold of Li Lingchuan. Mo Yi and Mo were merely at 6th stage realm cultivation and were slightly weaker than Li Lingchuan. Originally, if they went up to capture him, Li Lingchuan would absolutely not wait to be captured. But earlier, after witnessing Li Moying's astonishing ability, Li Lingchuan was so shocked that he laid limp on the ground as a smelly stench of urine flowed out from his pants, stinking the entire place. Facing the icy cold expressionless shadow guards, he didn't dare to resist against them. You can also listen on. Mo Yi and Mo didn't use much effort as they used the immortal binding rope to tie him up. But just as they were about to drag him away, Kui Yuan Shan suddenly regained his senses. He shot upwards like an arrow and cried out sharply towards the both of them, "Move aside. Who allowed you to snatch this person away from this sect master?" Mo Yi and Mo were intimidated by a 9th stage realm practitioner's profound energy, and instantly the blood in their chest started churning, causing them to almost throw up blood, but they didn't even take a step back. Kui Yuan Shan was exasperated and was about to strike out at them to teach them a lesson, but Li Moying waved his sleeve at a suitable timing as a burst of profound energy shot across silently to dispel Kui Yuan Shan's intentional suppression. Sect Master Kui, the outcome is already clear, and if you continue to tangle in this way, does that mean that you don't even want your face anymore? Li Moying's cold voice was heard at a speed which was not too fast nor too slow. But every single word which he said was thought to infuriate anyone to death alive. Kui Yuan Shan's face was flushed as he shouted out loudly, "WH! What outcome is already clear? Stop plastering gold onto your face. Earlier it was because this sect master had underestimated you, thinking that you've just in the 7th stage realm, hence I didn't put in any actual power. Did you think that you could win this sect master? In actual fact, if it was just based on that move earlier, the winner and loser was already extremely obvious. Both parties had a face-to-face profound energy clash, and in the end, Kui Yuan Shan was thrown 10 over feet away, even sustaining a moderate internal injury, whereas Li Moying was totally unharmed as he still had surplus energy. Anyone with eyes knew just who had a stronger ability. However, Kui Yuan Shan could not accept this reality, or rather, any established 9th stage realm practitioner who thought themselves as extraordinary were all unable to accept that they were actually defeated so easily by a 20-over-year-old junior in just one move. This was his lifetime's goal in cultivation, which he was pursuing after, and his arrogance and pride as an established top exponent was completely shattered. So Kui Yuan Shan kept on hypnotizing himself that Li Moying was able to defeat himself was all because he had underestimated him. That move earlier used at most 60% of his profound energy, and he had not even used any profound skill, so it did not represent his genuine strength. Hence he was defeated was just a coincidence. But Qui Yuanshan had not thought that as an established old-timer top exponent, yet all he was thinking of was to use his full strength and resorted to all methods to fight with Li Moying before he could even obtain a sliver of possible victory. This itself had already shown clearly the difference between both parties' ability. Li Moying heard Qui Yuanshan boasting shamelessly as his lips curled up slightly and sneered, "Since you're in a hurry to die, then why not let this seat take a look at how much ability do you really have?" When he said this, everyone was all disheveled in the wind. Li Moying's sentence and that tone, no matter what, it should be a senior saying such words to a junior, right? Why did it feel as though the situation was reversed? He and Qui Yuanshan's position seemed to have turned topsy-turvy. The bystanders who heard that were astonished, whereas Qui Yuanshan was so angry that his 7 orifices were fuming with smoke. "You, Li Moying, you're simply seeking death." Before his last word left his mouth, Qui Yuanshan's face suddenly turned pale as his mouth opened wide in shock. Li Moying's feet moved and took a step forward. Just a small step, and his surrounding aura had once again ascended as it instantly expanded rapidly by 1-fold. Thunder-attributed energy in the surrounding 10 miles were all wildly gushing towards him as the air was filled with electric currents, giving off crackling noises. You can also listen on. Qui Yuanshan's eyes widened. At this moment, right in front of him, he absolutely wasn't some talented junior who had just stepped into the 9th stage realm's door. On the contrary, the peerless strong exponent in front of him had easily controlled the electric current's power and his surroundings heaven and amp, earth energy, which was extremely complex and hard to handle, but he made it seem so easy and simply done as he wished. This was absolutely something which an established strong exponent who had genuinely combat experience could achieve. "Who on earth are you?" Qui Yuanshan's question was raised, but before he could finish asking, Li Moying's brows rose and he moved in an instant. Overbearing thunder-attributed profound energy gathered into bursts of thin electric currents, and following a lift of his finger, it struck towards Qui Yuanshan's chest. This bolt of lightning was extremely minute, and as compared to the last time the both of them crossed hands, that terrifying lightning which tore the sky apart became an obvious comparison. However, Qui Yuanshan sensed that this bolt of non-exceptional lightning contained even more powerful energy, which was even more than that lightning which blinded their eyes. This bolt of lightning came extremely quickly. Even if Qui Yuanshan was a wind-attributed practitioner, in terms of this speed, he was still too late. It took merely a thought and the lightning had already reached him, and Qui Yuanshan exhausted everything he could to take precaution as he expedited all the profound energy he had to protect his physical body. However, it was all in vain. A soft pfff was heard. Li Moying's electric currents easily tore apart Qui Yuanshan's protection profound chi, directly entering his body. Qui Yuanshan cried out miserably as his entire body was sent flying out towards the public square's direction. He flew for a couple of 100 meters before crashing heavily into the crown, causing a bustle of chaos. By the time Green Cloud Sect's disciples hastily passed through the crowd to render aid, they only saw a charred body on the ground. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still twitching occasionally, they really thought that he had already become a charred corpse. Whereas on Li Moying's face, he still bore the biting cold expression, without even a crease in his brow. It was as though defeating Qui Yuanshan, who was considered a rather strong practitioner who was in the 9th stage realm with one move, wasn't something extraordinary and couldn't even stir any emotions within his heart. He couldn't even be bothered to say a word more as he raised his hand and waved. Mo Yi and Mo who were behind him, immediately reciprocated as they went up to drag Li Lingchuan. This time round, no one else dared to jump out to object. Li Lingchuan was already foaming at his mouth as he laid limp on the ground, totally unconscious, just short of being scared to death alive. Murongda, on the other hand, had his eyes opened wide as he stared fixedly on Li Moying. No one was clearer than Murongda on just how strong was Qui Yuanshan's ability. In the recent years, he and Qui Yuanshan had been pairing against each other, and out of so many times, Murongda had never gained victory at all. But such a powerful top exponent wasn't even able to take a strike from his disciple. This really was reality. After Mo Yi trussed Li Lingchuan up, he returned back to standing behind Li Moying. Li Moying frowned as he said impatiently, Murong Fei as well. Bring them away together. Mo Yi shuddered as he hurriedly headed up to capture her. When Murong Fei heard that, she immediately shrieked, Eldest senior brother, mercy. Don't catch me, don't kill me. I really had not thought about harming you at all. It's Li Lingchuan and Leng Yifeng they forced me. I know my mistake. I'm begging you to take account of my father and spare me, please. You can also listen on. On seeing Li Moying's cold expression with an unwavering emotion, she hurriedly looked towards Murongda. Father. Quick, save me. As long as you say a word, eldest senior brother will definitely listen to you. I really have never harmed eldest senior brother before. Murong Fei had never felt such terror before. In actual fact, it wasn't only just her. When everyone present took a look at Li Moying, their gazes were mixed in between shock and terror. Even a top exponent like Kui Yuanshan had been defeated by him in just one move, not knowing if he was still alive or dead. Just what kind of ability was that? And how conceited and overbearing he was. No matter how Murong Fei had offended Li Moying in the past, she knew that she had a backing behind her, knowing that he felt grateful towards Murongda for saving him and he wouldn't really kill her. But today, not knowing why, Murong Fei had an unspeakable fear in her heart, somehow feeling that Li Moying seemed to have changed into someone else. Murongda was originally in a daze from the shock, and upon hearing his eldest daughter screeching loudly, he regained his senses. He hurriedly blocked Mo Yi and turned his head towards Li Moying. Moying, your abilities have advanced by leaps and bounds so suddenly, you must had some fortuitous meeting in the cloudy Chilean mystic region, right, which is also considered as a blessing in disguise. Your junior sister, she absolutely wouldn't intentionally do anything to harm you. You should know that for so many years, she had always had feelings for you. If she had offended you in any way, it definitely must be unintentional, so on account of this, master, please let her off this time. That's right, eldest senior brother. I'm wrong, Murong Fei apologized profusely. When Murongda opened his mouth, Murong Fei then somewhat felt assured. No matter what, for so many years, Li Moying had basically never rejected any of Murongda's requests, and every time Murong Fei or Murong Ni had caused any trouble, he had also not bothered to haggle with them. But, this time, Li Moying's icy cold gaze swept past Murong Fei's face. Let her off? Impossible. Mo Yi, what are you still waiting for? Murongda's face turned white. He had not expected that he would be rejected so relentlessly right there. Usually in such public occasions, Li Moying would give utmost face to him and absolutely would not make things difficult for him. Your wings have grown tough, so you're not even bothered about this master of yours, is it? Murong Fei, she is your junior sister. You two have been childhood friends since young, and you have the nerve to be so unwilling to forgive her over a small misunderstanding. Moreover speaking, the main person who harmed you is Li Lingchuan. Fei was just being threatened, so just capture Li Lingchuan away is more than enough. Murongda was feeling extremely angry, hence the words he said out were extremely harsh. He increased his tone, thinking of using the past attitude to coerce Li Moying to listen to him. However, when Li Moying heard that, his face was still filled with a cold expression as he opened his mouth and said, Murong Fei had indeed not actively plotted against me, but she almost killed Leah. If the person she dealt with was me, on Master's account, I might be able to forgive and forget, but she actually dared to harm Leah. Li Moying's murderous intent in his eyes sparkled as his voice turned increasingly chilly. Leah's life is several thousand times more important than mine. I had once made a solemn oath that if anyone dared to harm even one strand of hair of Leah's, I will make them continue living, which is way much worse than dying, with no chance to ever get up again. His cold voice drifted all over the public square and everyone's face bore an extremely shocked expression. You can also listen on. Everyone present had more or less heard of the rumors of how much Li Moying pampered his fiancée. But no one had imagined that his feelings towards Huang Yueli had reached such a state. All the young ladies present turned their envious and jealous gazes towards Huang Yueli, who was standing behind Li Moying with only one thought in their minds: why is this woman so lucky? She could actually make a man like Li Moying to risk his all to protect her, not even bearing to let her suffer a little harm, not to mention just how much love and adoration Li Moying had usually treated her. Such an icy cold man to everyone else, was always showing her a gentle smile, which made any young lady who saw that wish that they could replace her. Huang Yueli's lips curled up, with no intention to hide the complacent smile on her face. No matter how much the other women liked her Moying, they had no chances at all. This man had been contracted by her many, many years ago. He, Li Moying's words, had undoubtedly expressed his own stand, sentencing Murong Fei to death. Murong De looked at him in disbelief as his heart was infuriated to the max. From what he thought, if it wasn't for himself who saved Li Moying that year, no matter how talented he was, he would only be a dead corpse sooner or later. So Li Moying's achievements today were somehow linked to his credit, and Li Moying should know when to repay the favor. How could he kill Murong Fei over a woman who appeared from God knows which place? But the ability which Li Moying had shown today was simply so strong that even Kui Yuanshan was defeated easily. Murong De naturally knew that he totally wasn't his match right now. This disciple who had surpassed the master had grown strong wings and had totally separated himself from his control. However, Murong Fei was still screaming and struggling. Murong De loved his daughter very much and simply could not continue watching this, as he couldn't help but spoke out again. Li Moying, are you really that heartless to totally ignore all the nurturing that Celestial Light Sect had done for you all these years? Have you forgotten that when you were young and was pursued by killers, who was the one who saved you and taught you to cultivate, supplying you with various resources? Saying that, he suddenly thought of something as he casted a vicious word: if you insist on taking action on your junior sister, then you will no longer be Celestial Light Sect's disciple. Li Moying's gaze congealed slightly as he went silent for a moment, and then continuing to speak out icily: I have never forgotten Celestial Light Sect's gratitude to me, but for so many years, all that I've done for Celestial Light Sect is already enough to return the favor. If it wasn't for me, Celestial Light Sect would probably not become South Sky Region's #1 sect today. So my relationship with Celestial Light Sect is considered settled. From today onwards, as what Sect Master Murong wishes, I and Celestial Light Sect will no longer have any relations. What did you say? Murong De looked at him with his mouth agape and tongue tied. When he said he was going to drive Li Moying out of the sect earlier, it was merely a threat, but whoever knew that Li Moying actually didn't hesitate at all and directly announced that he would cut off all relations with Celestial Light Sect. What was he going to do about this? Li Moying was Celestial Light Sect's future hope. Now that he had already broken through to the 9th stage realm, it was the timing for Celestial Light Sect to fly into greater heights with him, but now he just cut off relations with the sect. What was Celestial Light Sect going to do? Murong De then realized just how stupid his threat was earlier. The situation now wasn't that Li Moying couldn't leave Celestial Light Sect, but it was Celestial Light Sect which needed him. But since this sentence was out, there was no way that he could rescind it. You can also listen on. Murong De's expression stiffened as he felt extremely regretful. He couldn't hope more than to take back his words on the shop, crying and pleading Li Moying not to leave. But this was simply too ugly, and no matter what, he was still a sect's master, a top exponent in 9th stage realm, so he really couldn't make himself pull his face down. Just as he was hesitating and couldn't make up his mind, Li Moying had already taken action personally, striking the noisily screeching Murong Fei unconscious, then throwing her to the shadow guards. His action was swift like lightning, and Murong De couldn't stop him in time. After Murong Fei had been tied up, he didn't loiter around as he turned around and held his little fiancée's hand, turning around to leave. When Murong De saw this, he couldn't be bothered if he lost face or not, as he hurriedly chased up with a trembling voice and asked, Moying, you're really going to leave Celestial Light Sect? Cut off all relations with Celestial Light Sect? Li Moying's footsteps took a pause as he replied in a clear voice without turning back his head, Isn't that what you wished for? I'm not. Murong De really wanted to explain himself, but his mouth was open yet nothing came out. That's right, Li Moying had indeed done everything that was asked of him for the sect, and he had also solved numerous prickly matters for Celestial Light Sect, gaining innumerable glory. But the him who loved his daughter had once and again ignored Murong Fei's ridiculous ways, even using the past day's gratitude to suppress Li Moying to request for him to forgive the things which Murong Fei had done. As what he wished, Li Moying had indeed given way many, many times. This made Murong De so pleased that he had lost his own sense of measure, thinking that he, his master, had enough standing, enough to control Li Moying's actions. In actual fact, he had forgotten that for such an exceptionally strong practitioner like Li Moying, how could he possibly be threatened into doing certain things? Apparently in Li Moying's heart, he naturally would have a balance on each and every matter, which made him select the option of giving in. But when Celestial Light Sect demanded overboard on the gratitude which was given to him, he would automatically withdraw himself and unconditionally restrict the so-called gratitude, to stop all his actions. It was right until his moment when Li Moying finally realizing that his calculations had all been set wrongly. Alas, it was all too late. He sat despondently on the ground as he watched Li Moying and his group of men walking further and further away. However, just as they just reached the entrance of the mountain, the young lady beside Li Moying suddenly stopped and tipped her toes up as she whispered something into his ears. Li Moying frowned, apparently not too willing to do so. But Huang Yueli hugged his arm and swung it vigorously, so under her strong stance of coquetry, Li Moying finally admitted defeat. Huang Yueli gave a brilliant smile as she pecked him on his cheek and raised her hand to call out for Yuan Zheyu, giving him a few instructions. Yuan Zheyu accepted the order as he walked through Celestial Light Sect's public square, standing right in front of Murongda. Murongda originally lowered his head in despondence, but upon hearing footsteps, he thought that Li Moying had turned back and instantly lifted up his head in high spirits. Moying, this master knew that you, on seeing the man in front of him, was someone whom he didn't recognize. Murongda was slightly stunned. Yuan Zheyu said in a clear, distinct voice, "Sect Master Murong, my third miss has a few words which she wants me to convey to you." Third miss, meaning Moying's fiancée? Murongda frowned. Yuan Zheyu didn't bother to make any explanations as he continued saying, "Third miss says she wouldn't go to the extent of taking eldest Miss Murong's life, only going to let her take on the punishment that she deserved, so Sect Master Murong need not act in this way. You can also listen on." When Murongda heard that, a spark flashed across his eyes as though he had clutched on to the last straw, as he questioned relentlessly, "Really? She wouldn't harm Fei's life? That's great. Moying pampers this fiancé of his the most, her words. Moying will definitely listen." Seeing Murongda heave a long sigh of relief, Yuan Zheyu silently shook his head. Apparently, Murongda doesn't understand this mistress of his. Otherwise, he absolutely would not be so happy. Perhaps he might not even be able to cry out. According to Yuan Zhiyu's slight understanding towards Huang Yueli, she indeed wouldn't let Murong Fei die, but she would let her suffer a fate living which was worse than death. But Yuan Zheyu naturally wouldn't remind Murongda about this. He cleared his throat and continued, "Third miss also said that Celestial Light Sect is after all the place where my master had resided in, so even if he left, he wouldn't not have any feelings for it. Master is a sentimental man, so if Sect Master Murong is able to find a suitable successor, in future if Celestial Light Sect runs into any huge trouble, Master he will not stand aside and do nothing. Will Sect Master Murong please consider this careful." Yuan Zheyu left this meaningful word, then turned around and left. Murongda repeatedly thought about this for quite some time, and the glow in his eyes started to lit up slowly. Towards Huang Yueli's words, he had developed his own understanding as he felt extremely indebted towards her. Moying's fiancé is really a good person. Not only had she pleaded for Fei, she even helped Celestial Light Sect speak up. Ari, no wonder Moying likes her so much. As Li Moying and the others completely vanished from their sights, the entire public square started to clamor with voices of discussions. The show today was simply too astonishing. It had totally exceeded everyone's limit of imagination. Originally they thought that it was merely a coronation ceremony of a young sect master, and all they needed to do was to be a silent spectator. Whoever knew that Li Moying suddenly came back to life and had even became a 9th stage realm top exponent. After exposing Li Lingchuan and Murong Fei's real faces, he left Celestial Light Sect in indignance. With all of these, every single matter was enough to become a topic of discussion at one's leisure. It was obvious that after today, not too long later, news of what had happened in Celestial Light Sect would have been spread throughout the entire South Sky region. Whereas Li Moying was merely 21 years old and had already broken through to the 9th stage realm would at first instance become South Sky region's top news. This kind of peerless expert which made one unable to look straight at him would henceforth be the focal point for the entire soaring heavens continent. Outside the sect entrance. Hearing Yuan Ziyu's report on completion of his mission, Li Moying took a look at the young lady in his arms with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Satisfied now? Murong De really treats you like his jolly good person. But you're really just a sly little fox. Huang Yueli blinked her innocent big eyes. What's called treat me like a good person? I am really a good person, all right? Tell me, which part did I say wrongly? Li Moying shook his head helplessly. No, what you said is right. Whoever dares to say you're wrong, I'll be the first to disagree with it. Huang Yueli's lips curled up as she smiled broadly while leaning over. That's right. Moreover speaking, isn't it all because of you that's why I said this? Li Moying exchanged glances with her. Their hearts and minds were interconnected, hence he naturally knew what this young lass in front of him was up to. His brows rose as he opened his mouth. You're counting your chickens before they hatch, not knowing if someone is willing to listen to you or not. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli smiled. This is a solution which he could have his cake and eat it too. Why would he not agree to it? I know, he's your loyal and devoted junior brother. So don't worry, I'll persuade him when the time is right. Li Moying pinched her perky cheek as he gave a low laugh. All right, I'll be relying on my wifey to help me plan by then. Who is your wifey? Huang Yueli swept him a glance. She would not casually marry him just like that, all right? Even if she only had eyes for this man. But if Li Moying didn't bring out 120% of his sincerity to propose to her, she would not casually nod her head. She murmured, I only felt that you've been in Celestial Light Sect for so many years and have already set up a strong foundation there, so if you were to just give up like that, it was really such a pity. Furthermore, South Sky region's forces originally belonged to Celestial Heaven's Gate, so this chance is hard to come by. She made it sound very vague, but Li Moying completely understood her meaning. He had been Celestial Light Sect's young sect master for many years and his foundation was very deep. It could be said that the entire Celestial Light Sect was within his grasp, and furthermore based on Celestial Light Sect status in South Sky region, if it was used as a piece of chess in a suitable way, it could completely affect the entire South Sky region situation. So Li Moying's leaving was really a pity, but now that he had broken through to the 9th stage realm, it was definite for him to head towards Sky Emperor City to gain more space for development, rather than to continue mingling around in Celestial Light Sect. In this way, the only way out for him was to leave a suitable successor, to help him take charge of Celestial Light Sect's forces, and at the same time become his agent for South Sky region. The only choice for this person, naturally, was his 5th junior brother, Luo Jiyun. Luo Jiyun had always been loyal and devoted towards Li Moying, and furthermore after Li Lingchuan and the others had all gotten into trouble, the only one with 8th grade talent was him, and in actual fact, he had already become Celestial Light Sect's highest innate talent and strongest abled talented practitioner. For him to take over the position of Celestial Light Sect's young sect master, naturally he was the choice for them to strike a balance in all aspects. Huang Yueli had made Yuan Ziyu told Murongda all these, was so that he could plant all these thoughts into reality. Actually, Li Moying had also thought of the same thing, but as he considered Luo Jiyun's feelings, it was difficult for him to stand out, but he had not expected Huang Yueli to be even more decisive than him as she immediately did so. He lowered his head and took a look at his smiling Leah as his lips curled up, with a slight tinge of sweetness and a little frustration. Ari, to have an interconnected heart and mind fiancé, everything he was thinking of could not escape her eyes. Then in future wouldn't he not be able to do a single bad thing at all? He was plainly most afraid of losing his freedom, but why was it that when he thought of it, it actually made him feel full of anticipation instead? That night, Li Moying led the entire group of them into Sky Cloud City as they settled down in a luxurious mansion within the city. This luxurious mansion was one of the properties under Li Moying's name, and he had first got the shadow guards to clean up the place, settling everything properly in advance. Huang Yueli had been in a state of unrest for this period of time. Firstly, she met with several dangers in cloudy Chilean mystic region, and later on they kept on hurrying back to Celestial Light sect to exact revenge. It was only until now that she had enough free time to soak herself in the mansion's huge warm sauna pool, enjoying her flower petal sauna bath. By the time she spent over an hour coming out from the refreshing bath which invigorated her skin, she discovered that Li Moying had gone missing. She took a tour around the rear courtyard and saw Li Moying sitting in the pavilion as he gazed afar, seemingly lost in thought. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli walked over in quick steps and hugged his arm as she looked at him from a slanted angle. Moying, what are you thinking about? Li Moying lowered his voice. I'm thinking of what I should do next. Huang Yueli blinked as she recalled something in enlightenment. That's right, I haven't asked you yet. What is our next step after leaving Celestial Light sect? Actually, she more or less had confirmed that their next destination was a 99% chance of heading towards Sky Emperor City. But for the exact next step, she wasn't too sure of it. Only knowing that if Li Moying wanted to go over to take a look, she would follow him with no second thoughts, no matter if it was to the ends of the world. But her fiancé had always been a determined man, so he definitely had his own plan. Li Moying turned back and took a look at her as he said, We shall stay in Sky Cloud City for a few days first. In the past decade, I have quite a number of properties in South Sky region that needs to be handled. Following that, he paused for a moment and his voice seemed to add a few tones of anticipation. Following that, will be the time for us to return back to Sky Emperor City. Huang Yueli's entire body shook. Even though she knew long ago that Li Moying's choice was so, but when she really heard it, it still made Huang Yueli's heart undulate. Sky Emperor City. Soaring heaven's continent's core, where innumerable top-rated strong practitioners gathered. It was filled with opportunities anywhere and anytime, and at the same time, it was also filled with plots and betrayals. That was also the place where she had lived for the past decades in her past life. She had once been the existence of the most popular person in Sky Emperor City, and as the young palace lord of the mythical Flame Palace, she was an exceptional genius with 9th grade upper talent and also the #1 beauty who startled all the 4 seats in Soaring Heaven's continent, where innumerable light halos were placed on the top of her head. However, even though she had the achievements which so many people were envious of, later on when everyone mentioned her, the first sentence would always be, #1 top expert Mu Chengying's woman. Once, she disliked so much that she was casted this name by a man, as though all her hard work and achievements were all erased cleanly in an instant. But now that she had already died once, she felt that this title sounded rather flashy. Moreover, it could also push back all those women who were eyeing Mu Chengying. Sky Emperor City to her did not have many beautiful memories. That year when she was in the northern ice fields, she had suffered the attack of 3 different sects out of the 7 sacred lands. At that time her whereabouts were kept secretive and the only person who had sold her out was her best female friend, Celestial Heaven's Gate's eldest young Miss Ling Qingyu. That kind of devouring hatred remained deep at the bottom of her heart. Like the cold from the northern ice fields which had entered her bones that night had still not dissipated ever since that day. It was also this exact reason why she had been even more prudent this lifetime, putting on more defense against other people. This lifetime, other than Li Moying, she couldn't trust anyone else. Even though she didn't usually display it, but she often left a hand in secret. Furthermore, she didn't have many friends this lifetime, and all these were because of the psychological shadow which had been left from her past life. Because of that, the mere thought of returning to Sky Emperor City had Huang Yueli feeling various kinds of feelings welling up in her heart, so for a short moment, she was slightly dazed. Li Moying raised his hand and caressed her silky long hair as he said softly, "Leah, are you all right? I know what you're upset about. Don't you worry, I will help you get your revenge on the grievances in your past life one by one, absolutely not letting off a single one of them who dared to hurt you. You can also listen on." Huang Yueli lifted up her head to meet those brilliant, sparkling peach blossom eyes. Beneath those eyes was deep and tender sentiments, as though it would drown her within. In an instant, Huang Yueli felt her eyes turning moistened, almost crying out right there. because she discovered that no matter if it was in her past life or current, no matter if she was in favorable circumstances or in adversity, the person who had stood beside her unwaveringly had always been this man. She hugged Li Moying's waist with increased strength, burying her face into his wide and robust chest. She blinked and tears seeped into the cloth material on Li Moying's chest. Li Moying didn't say anything much, only embracing her in an even more gentle and resolute manner into his arms. Sky Emperor City. To them, it was a place which was filled with memories. It took quite a while before Huang Yueli raised her head and said to Li Moying, "Thank you, Moying. I know you wholeheartedly want to protect me. But revenge is a dish best served cold. You need not be too anxious as well. After we reach Sky Emperor City, let's plan slowly. After all, things are no longer the same as before." Huang Yueli sighed softly. She was grateful to Li Moying for his willingness to give his all wholeheartedly, but she really didn't want him to take such a big risk just because of her own reasons. After all, the Li Moying now was not the same as the then Mu Chengying. He had just broken through to the 9th stage realm, and although his innate talent was much more superior than it was then, but it was still totally different as when he was in 9th stage realm peak condition. The difference in ability and battle power between 9th stage realm practitioners was actually extremely huge, and the disparity between the strong and the weak was a world of difference. Huang Yueli's past life stars were all part of Sky Emperor City's largest powerhouses, 7 sacred lands where all of it had been around since ancient times. Their inheritances had lasted for several hundred thousands of years, as the top exponents under them were innumerable. Even for the past life's Mu Chengying, if he didn't have a proper plan and just abruptly headed up, he would likely also suffer a disadvantage. What more now that his ability was a far cry from his past life, and that he had departed Sky Emperor City for more than a decade. Not knowing just how much force he would be able to gather back from the past, Soaring Heaven's continent's current situation was something which they weren't sure of. Huang Yueli absolutely would not allow Li Moying to take action under such a situation, although she wanted very much to exact revenge, but after her rebirth, in her heart she was very clear that nothing was more important than Li Moying. As compared to his safety, revenge of whatsoever had all become small issues. Li Moying's heart was moved as the arm which embraced her grew tighter as he lowered his head to take a whiff of the fragrance of her hair while sighing softly. "I know, Leah, do you think I look like a rash person? Don't worry, I won't do anything which I don't have any certainty of." As he was saying that, Huang Yueli suddenly had a strange and uneasy premonition. She suddenly raised her head and grabbed Li Moying's collar. "Moying, you must promise me. No matter what situation you are in, you must place your safety in the first place, and you must always accompany me, staying beside me properly." Li Moying went into a slight daze as his eyes flashed past an astonished glint. Leah, had she detected something? Impossible, he had obviously concealed it very well. It could be said that to be flawless. Li Moying merely hesitated for a breath's time when he regained his senses and smiled. "What are you worried about? I'm right by your side, isn't it? I will naturally keep you accompanied properly. After all, I've spent so many years before you finally nod your head to be together than me. You can also listen on." Li Moying's smile was extremely perfect, as that gentle and adoring attitude was exactly the same as before. Huang Yueli knew clearly that Li Moying was absolutely not some rash young lad. But she didn't know why she had an indiscernible feeling in her heart, as though she seemed to have missed out a very important matter. Li Moying saw her distracted look and frowned slightly as he lowered his head to plant a kiss on her cheek. Huang Yueli's face immediately flushed a bright red shade. "Why are you moving your hands while we are talking?" Li Moying innocently replied, "I only moved my mouth. Since when did I move my hands? You're the one who is obviously lusting after my body. You hugged me so tightly, so aren't you laying your little hands on me? Isn't this called thief yelling thief?" When Huang Yueli heard that, she immediately became gloomy as she raised her little fists, just about to incur domestic violence onto him. Li Moying could obviously evade her moves, but he just stood there obediently, allowing his fiancée to vent her anger on him. After a moment later, he grabbed hold of Huang Yueli's wrist and dragged her into his arms. All right, if you continue hitting me, your hands will start to hurt, and in that way, I'm the one who will feel heartache." He leaned close to her delicate fair cheek and blew some air on her in an ambiguous way. Following that, while Huang Yueli had not regained her senses, he leaned forward and gave her a deep kiss. A man's overbearing presence invaded her as that handsome-looking face was right in front of her eyes. Huang Yueli's heart was pounding wildly as her brain turned into glue. Other than obediently inclining towards the man in front of her and allowing him to kiss her willfully, she totally could not react at all, not to mention having the mind to think about any other things. This submissive her made Li Moying feel a passionate fire burn up within him, and plus the fact that she had just taken a bath which made her body give off a light rose scent, it was even more effective than any aphrodisiac. Li Moying kissed until he almost lost control, to the extent that he just pushed Huang Yueli onto a chaise longue as he buried his face into her slender long neck, following all the way downwards, planting deep strawberries, love bites. Huang Yueli didn't stop him because she felt very comfortable. Every time she laid in this man's arms, she felt as though she was turning into a puddle of water, totally unable to control herself. Eldest senior brother, I heard. 8. A shocked cry was heard. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I didn't see anything at all, I'm leaving, eldest senior brother, lil sister-in-law, please continue to be busy. When Luo Jiyun got closer to them, he detected the ambiguous atmosphere in the pavilion and instantly understood why Mo Yi and the others kept stopping him from entering this place. Unfortunately, he was just too rash and had given too much thought to their words. Now, it was too late for him to regret, as he could only bore the brunt of his eldest senior brother's murderous gazes as he turned around and scurried away in a jiffy. Interrupted by that joker, Li Moying turned around and sat up as his good-looking face was taut, bearing an icy-cold expression. Huang Yueli raised her head and sized him up as she couldn't help but burst out giggling. Li Moying turned back and started at that little fox who was gloating over his misfortune, but the latter wasn't a single bit afraid at all, as she intentionally smiled sweetly. Moying, why are you unhappy? Are you in a bad mood? Do you want me to give you a kiss? She's really a little fox who added oil to fire. Didn't she know that with the love bites on her collarbone, saying such things, what kind of effect it would cause? Li Moying's gaze dimmed. So proactive. Then let's return to our room in case we get interrupted by some little brat. You can also listen on. As he said that, he walked to the front of the chaise longue and stretched out his hand as he was about to carry her up horizontally. Huang Yueli immediately had a change of expression, and right before he could even touch her, she jumped up like her but was on fire. All right, stop fooling around. Junior brother Luo came running over at this timing, must be because of that matter. We'd better hurry over to take a look at him. Li Moying laughed softly. Why? Have the heart of a thief but no guts. Earlier, who was the one who wanted to kiss me and comfort me? Thinking of just running away like that? Huang Yueli's face turned red, as she really couldn't hope more than to kick him. Mentioning the pot which didn't boil. Look at his ill-intentioned look. Who dared to kiss him? What if she kissed him and it caused him to get heated up? Li Moying looked at her, biting her lips as her eyeballs kept roving around, and found it extremely amusing as he couldn't help but shot upwards like an arrow, pulling her wrist and wrestling her into his arms. Leah, it's not right to lie, especially to your fiancé. Since you've agreed to kiss, then you're not allowed to renege on it. Huang Yueli acted blur. Renege on a debt? Since when had I reneged on a debt? I merely don't want to kiss already. Treat it like I owe you one for now. Owing and owning, and it would be forgotten. However, how could Li Moying not know about this little thing's tricks as he held her slender waist tightly and inched his face close to hers? Why not like this? You don't kiss me, but it'd be the same if I kissed you. When Huang Yueli heard the mellow and sexy voice around her ears, then looking at his long and thick lashes which were like a fan drooping down, her heart jolted as she started to feel a little dizzy again. But immediately she detected a flame in Li Moying's profound eyes, and this made the alarms in her heart ring as she hurriedly said, I'll kiss, don't come any closer. Li Moying's action paused and was just about to say something when he suddenly felt a warm sensation on his lips. His little fox had swiftly pounced over and swiftly nibbled him on the lips, then using force she pushed him away, thinking of withdrawing herself from him. Li Moying's lips curled upwards, knowing that this lass was going to come out with the same tricks. Using a chick pecking on grains-like kiss to pacify him? Alas, A man wasn't that easy to deal with. After being tricked so many times, he had learnt to become smarter. His body hadn't moved, but instead he locked onto her waist with slightly more force as he turned from guest into host as he lifted up her chin and planted his kiss onto her once again. Huang Yueli had not expected her plan to fall through as her eyes opened real wide and tried her hardest to push him away. Li Moying was hugging a wriggling, uncooperative little fox and had no choice but to dabble and stop, and not long later, he loosened his grip. Huang Yueli started hard at him. Quick, don't fool around. Junior brother Luo is still waiting outside, and if he doesn't go out, what will he think? Li Moying laid lazily on the chaise longue as he replied in an absent-minded manner, who cares what he thinks? Anyway, what he's thinking in his mind is the truth. Huang Yueli's face flushed a bright shade of red. She had truly been defeated by this thick-skinned man. She gritted her teeth and said, "Are you going out or not?" Li Moying saw his little fiancé exploding and could only give a light cough. I'll listen, let's go. But, can we wait a little longer first?" Huang Yueli went into a short blank, but immediately, her gaze started sweeping onto the horizontally inclined man lying on the chaise longue in a seductive posture, and her gaze followed all the way downwards from his half-exposed chest. "You can also listen on." She had to admit that this man in front of her was an excellent piece of work. Every single muscle line was just nice, so beautifully perfect that made one unable to shift their eyes away. In her past life, she thought that Mu Chengying was the most handsome man, but in this life, as he possessed God Clan's bloodline, his looks were even more breathtaking now. Huang Yueli's vision followed downwards subconsciously. In an instant, her face turned even redder. She finally knew why Li Moying had refused to stand up. Because his bodily reaction was just too obvious, and with this state, it would be strange if he dared to meet anyone else. You, Huang Yueli simply didn't know what to say as she bit on her lips and gave him a stare, then slipping away immediately. Li Moying looked at her departing figure as he gave a bitter smile. This lass, indeed, had the ability to force one into insanity. She set the fire, and after realizing that she had created trouble, then ran off on her own, moreover bearing a look which looked like she was bullied by him. But even so, he was totally helpless as he could only allow his little fox to throw her tantrum in whatever tsunder, presenting as unfriendly and blunt but warm and tender inside, way she wanted. Huang Yueli ran out of the pavilion and readjusted her clothes before she headed to the front lobby. Luo Jiyun had been waiting there for quite some time as Mo Yi and the other shadow guards stood around chatting with him. On seeing Huang Yueli appearing alone, everyone's gazes all turned to her instantaneously. Not knowing if it was because she had a guilty conscience, she somehow felt that everyone's eyes were filled with ambiguity. She hurriedly gave a slight cough. That. Junior brother Luo, why have you come over so late at night? Luo Jiyun heard that and hurriedly explained, Lil sister-in-law, really sorry. I really didn't know. Have I interrupted you too? This hot-headed lad had totally not noticed that Huang Yueli was showing an embarrassed expression as he was still apologizing non-stop. It was right until Mo Yi pulled his from behind when he finally realized that something was amiss and hurriedly shut his mouth. Huang Yueli's lips twitched. You haven't interrupted. She paused for a moment and continued, you're here today, to look for your eldest senior brother regarding celestial light sex matters? Luo Jiyun heard that and kept on nodding his head, and at the same time he put on a pitiful look while pleading for help. Lil sister-in-law, please me to persuade eldest senior brother, ask him not to leave me here alone. I want to leave with eldest senior brother. Huang Yueli's brows rose as she looked at him. Why? You're not willing to stay on in Celestial Light Sect? You probably aren't very clear yet, right? Among the current direct disciples in Celestial Light Sect, there are just but a few top exponents left, and plus the fact that your eldest senior brother still had some power left around here, you only need to stay on and you will definitely become Celestial Light Sect's young sect master. Actually, earlier brother Mo Yi had already told me about the stakes involved. But, I don't want to become a young sect master, I just want to follow eldest senior brother. Luo Jiyun persisted. Huang Yueli smiled slightly as she stared at him and continued asking, are you sure? Have you really thought through this clearly? Such matters cannot be decided so rashly, all right? You've also witnessed with your own eyes on how Li Lingchuan had tried to obtain the position of young sect master and expended so much effort, even plotting an audacious plan of murdering his senior brother, but eventually he still didn't get what he wished for. Whereas for you, you could easily take on the position of young sect master. Your eldest senior brother would also support you in future, so are you really not going to do it? If you miss such a good chance, there will be no next time again. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli reiterated this once and again. Actually, without her saying, anyone with brains were able to think of this as it was the next logical thing to do. Status and authority were just an arm's length away. However, Luo Jiyun continued to shake his head. No, I don't want to be some young sect master, I only want to follow eldest senior brother. Although Huang Yueli had long known of his unyielding loyalty towards Li Moying, but his resolute attitude had even eliminated any sense of hesitation, which made one surprised. Why? This is such a good opportunity, why do you choose to give it up? Haven't you considered that your eldest senior brother had betrayed Celestial Light Sect, running off to roam about in Sky Emperor City, but there are so many top experts there, perhaps Moying isn't even anything over there. He might even offend someone unknowingly, unlike you who could stay relaxed in Celestial Light Sect. Luo Jiyun lifted up his head and looked at him, but isn't the art of cultivation about pursuing challenges? Greedy for a peaceful life could not possibly bring out the potential within. Following eldest senior brother around indeed isn't as easy in Celestial Light Sect, but I believe that it would lead me to head towards an even higher cultivational realm pathway. Moreover, eldest senior brother wouldn't continue to be a nobody forever. Based on his innate talent, he would definitely become a somebody who could command the wind and summon the rain, so following him around is definitely not a wrong choice. Huang Yueli saw Li Moying walk over slowly from behind Luo Jiyun and couldn't help but laugh. Moying, I really couldn't tell that this junior brother of yours really has unconditional trust in you. Li Moying grazed lightly over Luo Jiyun as he was apparently rather impressed. He muttered, since you have this thinking, then following me around is of no harm, but don't be like me to separate yourself from Celestial Light Sect. Tomorrow you will go over to tell Murongda clearly that you're just temporarily following me to Sky Emperor City to go on experience learning and will return in future. But, eldest senior brother, Luo Jiyun was rather astonished, you've already left Celestial Light Sect. Why should I stay there for? I'm really not interested in the position of young sect master. Huang Yueli beamed as she spoke up for her fiancé. You're not interested, but your eldest senior brother is interested. Moying's foundation which he had laid over the years, should we just let go of it like that? In future, we will rely on you to help him safeguard it. Don't tell me you're not willing to do so. Luo Jiyun then revealed an enlightened look as he patted his chest to express that he would definitely follow eldest senior brother's instructions. After Luo Jiyun left, Huang Yueli pulled Li Moying back to their room, and the minute they entered the room, she pursued him for an answer. You agreed to let Jiyun to follow you? Why? Could it be that you've already confirmed where we will be staying when we return to Sky Emperor City? Earlier when Li Moying nodded his head in approval, even she felt surprised. She had assumed that Li Moying would not allow Luo Jiyun to stay in Celestial Light Sect, out of concern for his safety. Later on, having a change of thoughts, she understood it immediately. Probably Li Moying had already thought of a plan, hence he decided on this. Li Moying's arms were crossed as he lowered his head and looked at the young lady in front of him as his lips curled up. You're so impatient to pull me back to the room, I had thought that you're preparing to continue the matter earlier which you had not completed. Earlier, what matter? Huang Yueli blinked and suddenly comprehended as her face flushed red. You're so shameless. Stop with the rubbish and quickly tell me the answer. Li Moying then slowly replied, it's not considered as a plan, but since I was the sovereign of Blue Profound Sect in my past life, naturally I will return to my own sect. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli's eyes turned wide open as she felt extremely surprised when she heard what he said. What? You want to return to Blue Profound Sect? From what she thought, this was the most impossible option which Li Moying would take. After all, so many years had gone by and no one could be sure of the current situation of Blue Profound Sect. So heading back abruptly might not necessarily be a good thing. In fact, it might be very risky. Because Blue Profound Sect, as the #1 superpowerhouse in the then soaring heavens continent, had plenty of strong exponents, and based on Li Moying's current ability, there was no way that he could resume to the same state that year, to suppress so many top exponents. At the very least, Li Moying's 4 great guardians under him were all much stronger than he was right now. Li Moying met her eyes and nodded his head prudently. That's right. He quickly followed up with an explanation. You don't need to worry too much. That year when I left Blue Profound Sect, I'd already arranged everything that I needed to within the sect. Some days after we left the cloudy Chilean mystic region, I've also sent out a secret signal and obtained contact with Blue Profound Sect. Although so many years have passed, there is bound to be changes within the sect, but I still have my own way to control the 4 great guardians, so you need not worry too much over this. Moreover, based on our current ability, to help you exact revenge, it's just too slow to do it step by step, so it's better for us to return back to Blue Profound Sect first, so that we can speed up the process of our strength quickly. Huang Yueli naturally believed his ability and also believed that since he said there would be no problem, then there would definitely be no problem. But unknowing why, she somehow felt that something seemed wrong somewhere. But Huang Yueli frowned and thought for a moment as her eyes lit up and said, right. Last time when you were in Celestial Light Sect, your soul detachment illness acted up and you regained most of your memories from your past life. Hadn't you said in the past that all the memories that is related to my self-explosion, you weren't really able to recall it all? How is it that you are able to remember what happened before you left Blue Profound Sect? Your memories. Has it recovered completely? Li Moying's heart pounded wildly. He simply had not expected that Huang Yueli would be so intelligent to this step, to actually see through the truth which he had tried all means and ways to cover up. That was right, when they were in the cloudy Chilean mystic region, his illness acted up when he was on the verge of death, plus the fact that he was struck on lightning, all the memories came rushing back at one shot. By the time he regained consciousness, he discovered that he had recalled everything that had happened. Before this, no matter how he racked his brains, he totally couldn't recall anything from after Huang Yueli's death. That bit of lost memory had all returned to his mind this time round. But it was exactly because of this which was why he knew that, what exactly was he about to face? Li Moying's thoughts turned swiftly. Although he was exposed earlier and had a slight instant of being dazed, but he quickly concealed his own loss of self-control. Leah, I also wished that I could recover all my memories, but unfortunately it's not within my control. I can only indistinctly remember bits and pieces of very small portions, basically just the portion on the agreement with the 4 great guardians. Huang Yueli frowned. Really? So coincidental? Has this memory come back to you the last time your illness acted up in the cloudy Chilean mystic region? Other than this, what else can you remember? What happened after I self-exploded, and why did you reincarnate and reborn as well? Have you recalled all of these? Of course he had recalled all of these, but Li Moying's expression was as per normal as he shook his head slowly. These? I can't remember it at all. I've tried several times, but the minute I try to recall, my head would hurt so much as though it was about to split open. You can also listen on. The minute Huang Yueli heard that, she immediately got tensed, not daring to ask any further. What? Why did this happen? Then you'd better not try to think about it. Anyway, from the looks of it, your memory is starting to come back to you bit by bit, so there's no need to force it. Perhaps when the time is near, you will know. Li Moying heard what she said and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, Huang Yueli thought of something as she hurriedly added on, that's right. That year, 4 great guardians were all your trusted aides. I think they would definitely know the situation then. When we reach Blue Profound Sect, we can interrogate each one of them, so perhaps we might be able to discover something. Cough cough. Li Moying's expression turned slightly pale again. Why was his fiancée so intelligent? It was practically impossible to defend against her effectively. It was simply too difficult to hide anything from her. Luckily she told him whatever was on her mind, telling him her plan so he should nip the problem in the butt before it happened. There were some things which he absolutely could not afford to let her find out. Li Moying hurriedly said, What you said is correct. As long as we reach Sky Emperor City, the truth will be out. Moreover, whenever I advance into another level, there is also the possibility of regaining my memory, so you shouldn't worry too much. Or is it that, if I didn't had these memories, you don't love me anymore? Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him. What rubbish are you sprouting? I'm just worried about you. Somehow I feel that things aren't that simply. What on earth had you done in your past life? Why is it that you have also reincarnated and reborn? And why is it that after I've self-exploded, but I recollected all my senses? I simply don't understand all these. Li Moying sighed softly as he held her hand and said in a mellow voice, stop thinking about it. What matters now is that we're together, isn't it? To me, for this moment to come true, I'd be more than willing to pay any price for it. Huang Yueli raised her head and looked at him as her heart jolted, unknowingly on why an indescribable heartache started to make her tremble slightly. Leah, you're trembling. Are you feeling cold? Li Moying immediately held her hands and took her into his arms. The two of them embraced tightly at a close distance. Taking a whiff of Li Moying's familiar and mild scent of a man, Huang Yueli finally felt a little better, as the uneasiness in her heart wasn't that much anymore. Only, these questions had been shrouded around her mind. Just what happened after she self-exploded? Li Moying and the entire group stayed on in Sky Cloud City for close to 2 weeks, processing the properties and other important matters he had in Sky Cloud City. In between, Murongda sent someone over several times in bid to retain Li Moying, but Li Moying's attitude was resolute as he didn't entertain him at all. Huang Yueli also took some time to settle some matters, basically to make arrangements for the place of residence for those servants whom she had taken in. The majority from Celestial Light Academy did not have much outstanding innate talent, and their achievements in the way of cultivation in future wouldn't possibly be too high. Hence Huang Yueli didn't force them to head towards Sky Emperor City with her, but to let them choose their own path. A portion of them chose to stay in Celestial Light Sect, and that included Su Qingyu. Huang Yueli handed Cai Wei and some other lower-leveled practitioners over to Su Qingyu to manage, allowing them to cultivate and manage the properties which she and Li Moying had left behind in Sky Cloud City. In future, when Luo Jiyun returned to Celestial Light Sect successfully with achievements in his cultivation, he might need the aid of these hidden forces to stabilize his own status. You can also listen on. As for Yuan Ziyu and some other practitioners with much better innate talents, they naturally didn't wish to stay on in Sky Cloud City to waste their time. They chose to head towards Sky Emperor City to make a name for themselves. After all, it was only in such an environment with strong practitioners which would allow them to increase their own abilities to the maximum degree. After settling everything, Li Moying and Huang Yueli then brought all their subordinates and left Sky Cloud City on a flying ship. A month later, the flying ship slowly got closer to the outer boundary of Sky Emperor City, and they were able to see Sky Emperor City's city wall from quite a distance away. This day early in the morning, Luo Jiyun and the others dashed over to the deck of the flying ship and stood in a circle to watch as they all started to exclaim in admiration. Heavens, it's just too spectacular. I'd not expected Sky Emperor City's city walls to be the same as the legends. It's all built with aquamarine ceramic glazed tiles. Just how much money is this worth? It's rumored that on the outer boundary of Sky Cloud City, there's a god-grade city protection array left from ancient times, which is impenetrable. It's just too powerful. No wonder this place is the core of the entire soaring heavens continent. When Huang Yueli heard these country bumpkins giving off such exaggerated praises, she couldn't help but smiled. Although Sky Emperor City was just a city, but in actual fact, its size was almost the size of the entire South Sky region. Moreover, as the continent's core, for several thousands of years, innumerable top-rated geniuses had all brought everything they had, heading towards Sky Emperor City to seek for chances to break through and to establish their fame overnight. This tradition had been accumulating from generation to generation, hence it led to Sky Emperor City becoming the gathering of innumerable top exponents, and also, astonishing well. Just how strong were Sky Emperor City's top powerhouses, and how wealthy they were, was something which those practitioners from desolated 4 sky regions weren't able to imagine. It could be said that for every practitioner who had just arrived to Sky Emperor City were deeply stunned, hence Luo Jiyun and the others' display wasn't too exaggerated at all. Li Moying looked at her weak smile as he suddenly recalled something, and a smile curled up on his lips. TSK, these fellows. Are they country bumpkins entering the city? To think that year, when I first arrived at Sky Emperor City, Huang Yueli's eyes shone as she immediately pursued after this topic excitedly. How was it? Your first time in Sky Emperor City, was it very silly and laughable? Huang Yueli suddenly recalled that Mu Chengying seemed to come from a desolate village, and although his master who fostered him was a top exponent in Soaring Heaven's continent, but he had always been living in seclusion in the rural area to teach a few disciples. It was only until he reached 17 or 18 when Mu Chengying finally came to Sky Emperor City for experience learning. Huang Yueli grew up in Sky Emperor City herself, hence she had not felt that Sky Emperor City was a spectacular or outstanding place at all. But now she was extremely curious, wondering how it was when he first entered the city. Did he act the same as those youngsters who were making a big fuss out of nothing? Li Moying shot a glance at her in a smile which didn't look like a smile, but under Huang Yueli's impatient glare, he said a few meaningful words. I don't remember anymore. Huang Yueli's eyes opened wide. You, how dare you trick me? Impossible, I don't believe it. Such an important matter like your first time entering Sky Emperor City, how could you forget about it? This is the changing point of your past life, so you definitely remembered it. Have you done something embarrassing? Quick, if there's something unhappy that happened, tell me so that I can be amused by it. Li Moying looked at her in extreme innocence as he said, I didn't lie to you. I really don't remember it anymore. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli absolutely refused to listen to his gibberish. How could you possibly not remember? Even I remember it. That year, if it wasn't to join Sky Emperor City's Genius Tournament, which is held once every 10 years, would you have rushed over from the border? Moreover, at that tournament, you defeated various large influential powerhouses' top-rated talents consecutively to become the winner, which shocked the entire Sky Emperor City, hence you made a name for yourself ever since then. Such an important thing, how could you forget about it? Liar. Quickly tell me. She stuck close to Li Moying as she pestered him, asking this and that, determining that since he refused to say, then he must have done something embarrassing at that time. However, Li Moying continued to smile without replying. Instead he turned around and pulled her into his arms while whispering ambiguous words into her ears softly. I've not expected that you remembered my matters so clearly. Looks like ever since that time, you've been paying attention to me, right? Then that time when I wanted to get acquainted with you, you still intentionally put on an arrogant look, not even looking straight at me in the eye. Isn't that a little too tsunda? Huang Yueli's face turned bright red. When did I? The #1 tournament in the world. That's Sky Emperor City's first-rate matter. I will naturally pay some attention to it. Moreover, the tournament came out with such a dark horse which had spread throughout the entire Sky Emperor City. It would be difficult for me not to know about it even if I didn't want to. What does it have to do with you? She would never admit that during the #1 tournament battlegrounds when she unintentionally saw Mu Chengying, she was also attracted by his demeanor like those ignorant young ladies. But very quickly when she saw a whole bunch of young misses from other sects crowding around him, the her who was still pure in the heart immediately plastered a Casanova label onto him, and in order to conceal the feelings that she had towards him, she intentionally pretended not to see him. Li Moying originally just mentioned it casually, but when he saw her face flushed red, he couldn't help but feel his heart pounding hard. Why? I've really hit the spot. Huang Yueli raised her head suddenly as she stared hard at him. Narcissism is an illness, you have to treat it. Saying that, she pushed him aside. All right, from the sound of their voices, it seems that we are about to reach Sky Emperor Zone, which restricts flying. Looks like we have to land soon. I'll go out and take a look. She disappeared like a wisp of smoke. Li Moying saw her escaping rapidly as he rubbed his nose, and the smile on his lips turned even deeper. He had not intentionally lied to Huang Yueli earlier because he really didn't recall what happened when he just entered the city. Actually, what Huang Yueli said wasn't wrong. That was the most important day of his past life, and by right, he shouldn't have forgotten about it. But after he entered the city, He immediately headed over to Sky Emperor City's largest inn to have a seat, and it was there when he first met the young palace lord from mythical Flame Palace for the first time as she passed by. He had barely caught a glimpse of a passing beauty, and after that he forgot about everything totally. Not to mention that he had forgotten the other matters which had happened that day, even the matters which happened a couple of months ago, he totally couldn't recall clearly. He only remembered that he kept on cultivating and cultivating with only one thought in mind, which was to let Huang Yueli see that he had enough power to protect her, a man who could satisfy all her vanity. She could only marry him. But these were something which he wouldn't say. After all, Huang Yueli had not admitted that she had feelings for him long ago, so why would he bring it out? The number one top exponent had his own pride. Not too long later, Li Moying's flying ship landed in front of Sky Emperor City. There was no array within the radius of 100 miles outside Sky Emperor City, and they didn't allow anyone to ride on flying beasts or flying ships, nor utilize their flying profound skills. You can also listen on. However, Sky Emperor City's influential powerhouses weren't included within the restrictions, so occasionally there were still flying ships and Falcon Snowcondors. But Li Moying had just returned and had not grasped Sky Emperor City's current situation, hence, he didn't want to attract attention, so they chose to silently descend while preparing to enter the city through the normal procedures. Huang Yueli's right hand raised and kept the flying ship into the Sky Phoenix Ring. Ever since she advanced into 5th stage realm, Sky Phoenix Ring's storage area had been upgraded several times, becoming larger and larger. Now it was about the size of a small village, so putting a flying ship in there was enough and had space to spare. But to be able to have the space to keep a flying ship, even in Sky Emperor City, was something which was rarely seen. Huang Yueli's move would inevitably attract the surrounding practitioners' attention. Huang Yueli didn't want to attract trouble, but such a large flying ship originally could not just disappear without a trace, so attracting others' attention was something which she couldn't help. Luckily, among their group included a 9th stage realm top exponent like Li Moying, hence ordinary practitioners totally didn't dare to create any trouble. Even until they reached Sky Emperor City's towering city gates, Luo Jiyun and the others were still looking around curiously. The few of you, please stay put and pay the entrance fee here. 1 high-grade spirit stone for each person. A guard stopped them. Luo Jiyun gave a shocked expression. 1 high-grade spirit stone for 1 person. This is daylight robbery. Mo Yi and the others were speechless as well. 1 high-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, enough to buy an inferior quality 3rd-tier profound armament, just to enter the city once. This was just too extravagant. However, Sky Emperor City had quite a number of gates, and the human traffic every day would at least incur several hundred thousands. Wasn't this too profitable? When the guards heard their discussions, he couldn't help but creased his brows. He saw them coming over from a large flying ship and had thought that they were some wealthy people. Why were they kicking up such a big fuss over the entrance fee? Gentlemen, here, this the regulations of our Sky Emperor City. If you don't pay the entrance fee, you cannot enter the city, please comply. Huang Yueli knew that this was the usual regulation and didn't say anything as she casually retrieved a handful of high-grade spirit stones from her space and handed them over to the guard. The guard counted the amount and realized that there was actually more, which should be tips for him. His attitude immediately changed, and using an extremely polite tone, he continued, "Please head in ahead, gentlemen. Welcome to Sky Emperor City." Luo Jiyun saw the guard's attitude, which had switched from arrogance to deference, as his lips twitched and couldn't help but mumbled softly, "Money can really make the devil turn the millstone." Huang Yueli turned around in amusement as she educated him, "It's just a high-grade spirit stone. Is it worth it for you to act in this way? Take this and be more generous in future. Don't embarrass your eldest senior brother, your sister-in-law. I am not lacking in money." Saying that, she drew out a money sack as she tossed it into Luo Jiyun's arms. Luo Jiyun took a look and his eyeballs almost fell out. The sack was filled not only with high-grade spirit stones, but an entire sack full of medium-grade spirit jades. Each piece was worth 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Luo Jiyun's hand started shaking. "Sister-in-law, this is worth too much." Huang Yueli gasped with exasperation as she said, "Just hold on to it. In Sky Emperor City, There are plenty of chances, so most practitioners are extremely snobbish. If you want others to respect you, the best way would naturally be having enough ability. But now you're still lacking a little, so you cannot afford to be too petty, otherwise you'd be bullied by everyone. The few of them were just chatting when they suddenly heard someone calling out to them from behind. You can also listen on. Wait, the few of you, please hold on, you cannot leave yet. They turned back in astonishment and saw an entire troop of guards dressed in uniformed profound armor rushing over from behind them, stopping them in their tracks. Li Moying's elegant sword-shaped brows creased as cold intent flashed past his eyes. What's the meaning of this? Trying to find trouble? Huang Yueli could tell that he was about to fly into a rage and hurriedly jumped out to speak. Dear sirs, we have already paid the entrance fee according to regulations. Why do you still stop us? The leader heading the team took out a sedge scroll and looked at it against the light. He then took another look at Li Moying and Huang Yueli, apparently making a comparison. Huang Yueli frowned slightly as she turned back and met Li Moying's vision. The both of them had the same suspicions. Could it be that Li Moying had caught Li Lingchuan away and the news had been sent back to Lung family so quickly? Further, Lung family's influence was so big, and within such a short amount of time, they had managed to settle Sky Emperor City's guards to help them capture them. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be so. Although Lung family was said to be some top 10 clans, but the top 10 clans itself was an overstatement. In Sky Emperor City, only the 7 sacred lands were the genuine super powerhouses, as their foundation was strong and deep with preeminent strength that no one dared to provoke them. Other than that, the others, like what top 10 clans, 8 large sects or whatsoever, were all self-claimed. Rather than saying that these were publicly acknowledged super powerhouses, they might as well say that they were the next in sequence forces which had gathered together to gain the right of speech. So in essence, even if the entire 10 clans grouped together, they still didn't have the qualifications to speak of a single word in front of Mu Chengying. Now just a measly last-ranking Lung family could actually control Sky Emperor City's guards. Somehow something didn't feel quite right. Although they were filled with suspicions, but the two of them were not feeling flustered. Sky Emperor City originally wasn't some place which was filled with pure and honest folkways, so if they weren't able to settle this small problem, then they can forget about continuing mingling here in future. But Luo Jiyun and the others were apparently frightened as they exchanged glances to see the terror in one another's eyes. Since when had they encountered such a huge disposition of troops? That time Kui Yuan Shan spoke of how incredible Lung family was, it seemed as though they were able to crush the entire Celestial Light sect with just one finger. Thinking of their entire group of entourage, there was only Li Moying who was in 9th stage realm. The others' abilities belonged to the middle and low classes in Sky Emperor City, totally unable to resist against them. We're done for, finished. Could they be from the Lung family trying to create trouble for us? I'd never thought that Lung Yifeng had such huge backing. Surely they won't really capture eldest senior brother, right? Shouldn't be that bad. Even Mo Yi, who deeply believed in Li Moying, couldn't help but get worried when he saw this. Master capturing that fellow is logical and reasonable, not intentionally creating any trouble. Lung family cannot just be unreasonable. If there's really no choice. Anyway, since Li Lingchuan is still being locked behind in the carriage, should we just pass him over to Lung family? At least it's better than being locked up the minute we enter the city. Just afraid that Lung family's people refuse to give up just like that. Huang Yueli heard those discussions behind her as her lips twitched, thinking of going forward to educate them. But considering that the time wasn't quite right, she could only endure it as she kept her mouth shut. Just at this moment, after the team leader repeatedly verified the identity, he finally opened his mouth. May I ask, are you young Master Li Moying? You can also listen on. Li Moying replied without batting an eyelid, that's right, what can I do for you? Out of their expectations, the team leader didn't act like they expected, to abruptly capture them. On the contrary, his expression was full of praise. So you're Master Li. Please kindly wait a moment longer, there's someone who wants to meet with you. The team leader's attitude was so humble, which made Huang Yueli and the others extremely surprised. Li Moying frowned as he sized up the drawing in the team leader's hand suspiciously. Who is it who wants to meet me? Can you reveal the identity a little? The team leader hesitated. Anyway, it's someone from one of the powerhouse in Sky Emperor City and definitely not someone who has ill intentions towards you, so please kindly wait a little while more. From the equivocal answer, Li Moying replied slightly impatiently, since the person coming is unwilling to reveal his identity, then there's no need for me to wait right here. It's rather late and today I've just arrived in Sky Emperor City, so there are just a number of things for me to settle. Apologies, but we'd be making a move first. To be able to let the most famous unparalleled top exponent in Sky Emperor City wait, other than his Leah, there hadn't been anyone else yet. Looking at the team leader's expression, it shouldn't be Lung family who's seeking revenge this time round. Since that was the case, he wasn't too interested in finding out the situation, and he wasn't interested to act like a country bumpkin who hadn't seen the world to stay and wait for some influential powerhouse to meet here. Li Moying turned around to leave and Huang Yueli merely shrugged as she hooked her arm around Li Moying's and followed up in quick steps. Luo Jiyun and the others apparently were slightly worried, but they too followed behind them closely. The team leader saw that he was about to leave and hurriedly chased after them, shouting out, "Master Li, wait a minute, don't leave. The person who wants to meet you is really someone important in Sky Emperor City, and furthermore he is very sincere in it. This is absolutely a heaven-descended chance. If you don't stay behind and wait, then in future, it'd be too late for regret." Hearing that, Huang Yueli seemed to have thought of something as her slender brows rose and a sliver of smile curled up on the corners of her lips. She raised her arm and her elbow knocked against Li Moying's as she gave a low chuckle. "I say, Moying," from the tone, could it be that someone wants to? Before she could even finish her sentence, a bright light flashed past and an imposing aura immediately swept across from their front. The few of them stopped in their tracks and lifted their heads to take a look. They saw an elderly man with a head full of white hair, dressed in luxurious apparel, standing right in front of the both of them as he sized Li Moying up with a beaming face. "Master Li, Miss Bai, don't be in a hurry to leave, all right? Just spend a little time having a chat with this old man, how about it?" Li Moying's expression was cold and solemn as he shot a fleeting glance at him but didn't say a word. Huang Yueli, however, had a face which showed that she was thinking as she sized up the elderly man in front of her. He was dressed in an entire set of tier-grade profound armor, and the sword which was hanging by his waist was an 8th-tier upper-grade profound weapon which looked acutely sharp. Even in Sky Emperor City, 8th-tier profound weapons were scarce, and in the entire armament guild, they would only produce several hundred pieces yearly. In Sky Emperor City, where there were plenty of strong practitioners, there practically wasn't enough to meet the demand. Hence, to be able to use an 8th-tier profound weapon reflected the status of someone very important in Sky Emperor City. In this way, the team leader really wasn't lying to them. The elderly man apparently didn't expect Li Moying's attitude to be so arrogant, but after he went into a slight blank, he didn't show any signs of infuriation, but instead he gave a smile. "Ha ha, Master Li is indeed, as what the rumors say, extremely haughty. You can also listen on. But based on your innate talent, you're worthy to be that haughty. In Sky Emperor City, youngsters with innate talent have the right to be haughty." The elderly man fiddled with his beard as he smiled and said, "Master Li, I truly have something important to discuss with you. How about this? Not too far in front is Sky Emperor City's famous tea house, Heavenly Aromatic House. Let me be the host and treat you all to some tea while we slowly discuss this matter. How about that?" Li Moying's expression remained indifferent as he said, "Apologies, I have something urgent on and have no time to have tea or whatever. If you have something really urgent, please do say it out directly now." The elderly man was slightly surprised as he had not expected that after he had shown 100% sincerity, he was still rejected by the other party. Honestly speaking, very few people would not dare to not give him face like that, not to mention that the person in front of him was a junior. The elderly man's heart started to feel discontented, but thinking that he had unintentionally received this piece of news. The young man in front of him had such outstanding talent that even Mu Chengying was left in this genius's dust. The elderly man's anger suddenly disappeared totally. He hurriedly said, "I've forgotten to introduce myself earlier. I am Feng Boizhong and I'm from the Feng family, one of the top 10 clans in Sky Emperor City. This time round, I'm here to represent my clan, hoping to recruit Master Li. As long as Master Li is willing to join my Feng family forces, you will be able to enjoy the clan's top-rated geniuses treatment, with all the cultivation methods or resources at your disposition. After the elderly man self-announced his clan, his words immediately caused bursts of exclamations. Sky Emperor City's surroundings were filled with people and had always been crowded by a huge amount of practitioners gathering around. Earlier, when the team leader suddenly took out the portraits and stopped the entire group, that scene had already attracted quite a number of people to gather around. Especially when Feng Boizhong appeared, it attracted all the bystanders to stay put and crowd around. Hearing him say those words, some of them couldn't help but start to comment. This elderly man is actually part of the Feng family. Feng family is the leader of the top 10 clans and is an influential and famous powerhouse in Sky Emperor City. Feng Boizhong. Why does this name sound so familiar? Ah, I remember now. Isn't he the clan leader for Feng family? Why would he be here personally? Just what situation is this? Feng family's clan leader personally came over to the city gate to stop them, just to recruit this young man into their clan? Just what backing does this person have? Heavens, it's just too fascinating. Top 10 clans are not only powerful, they also have plenty of inheritances and usually seldom recruit members outside their bloodlines. This time round their clan leader actually personally came. Could this handsome man in front of us really be some peerless genius? But, what kind of genius is worth making clan leader Feng come out personally? There is a younger generation in the Feng family, who is a 9th grade mid-level genius. The crowd were whispering and commenting as they casted envious and jealous gazes onto Li Moying, all trying to guess his identity. To be recruited by Sky Emperor City's powerhouse to become the party whom the clan used ways and means to nurture them was the opportunity which every single young practitioner was searching for, even in their dreams. But most of them buzzed around for many years and were still unable to attain their dreams, to join a genuine strong powerhouse to obtain the inheritance. But now, someone had just entered the city gates and was recruited personally by the clan leader from one of the top 10 clans, so how could they not feel envious over this? You can also listen on. When Feng Boizhong heard the praises from the crowd, he couldn't help but felt complacent. Looked like Feng Boizhong in Sky Emperor City was also considered as an important character. Just standing on the streets like that and so many of them actually recognized him. This time round, just how influential Feng family was. Surely Li Moying was able to understand that even without him to say it outright? Feng Boizhong fiddled with his beard as he smiled. Master Li, we the Feng family has the utmost sincerity, so I wonder what you think of it. Li Moying's expression was unfathomable. Huang Yueli, however, almost burst out laughing. This time round it was already very clear. The guess which she had earlier wasn't wrong at all. This old man was here to recruit her fiancé. Not knowing where Feng family's clansmen heard about Li Moying's innate talent. Sky Emperor City's powerhouses had usually felt disdainful to even go take notice of the 4 Sky region's geniuses, wasn't it? But it was no wonder that Feng Boizhong was in a hurry to stop them at the city gates. If he was indeed clear on Li Moying's innate talent, then he naturally knew that for a peerless genius like Li Moying, the minute he entered Sky Emperor City, he wouldn't be someone whom a mere Feng family could afford to recruit. He absolutely must hurry over to cheat Li Moying into his hands before he understood the entire situation. Feng Boizhong was indeed flexible in his thinking. Alas, Li Moying wasn't some blur fool who had just entered Sky Emperor City for the very first time. On the contrary, he was Sky Emperor City's big demon lord. Feng Boizhong's calculations were all wrongly done. Clan leader Feng, I'm sorry and we appreciate your good intentions. But we have already arranged for these few days and have no intention to join any powerhouse yet, so we hope you can understand. Huang Yueli knew that Li Moying couldn't be bothered to deal with these sorts of matters, so she had to stand out to reply on his behalf. Feng Boizhong wouldn't give up that easily as he tried his best to persuade further. Master Li, Our Feng family's inheritance has been around for 10,000 years, and we have also occupied several orvanes in the outskirts of Sky Emperor City, hence the clan has a vast amount of resources, especially in terms of heaven-grade cultivation methods and profound skills. We also have a few ancient scrolls, so as long as you nod your head, all these are at your disposal. Huang Yueli curbed herself from laughing out. Clan leader Feng, we really don't need these. We really have something urgent, and our Moying still doesn't have any plans to lean onto any powerhouse yet, so will you please let us through? How about this? Now that we're considered as acquainted, when there is a need in future, we'll go pay you a visit. Feng Boizhong started to become anxious. What urgent matters do you have to handle? You've just arrived at Sky Emperor City, and rather than going round in circles blindly, why not just join our clan? Feng family's name is everywhere in the entire Sky Emperor City, so no matter what you need to do, you will be able to get it done easily. What a joke! What was meant by going to look for him in future when there's a need? Feng Boizhong was just too clear that the minute Li Moying entered the city and got in touch with various powerhouses, there would be something strange if he chose to join a mere Feng family by then. Based on his innate talent which had surpassed Mu Chengying, wasn't it as easy as lifting a finger for him to join whichever powerhouse he wanted? Huang Yueli was not able to answer in time when Feng Boizhong suddenly thought of something and said, I know. You're in such a hurry to enter the city because you're worried of the Lung family coming to find trouble for you. Huang Yueli blinked and asked out of surprise, how did you know? Huang Yueli was surprised on how he got information on this matter, but Feng Boizhong had misinterpreted, assuming that they were really afraid of the Lung family. Feng Boizhong suddenly felt that he had grasped the crux of the problem. You can also listen on. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.